Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Farmers Branch regular City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. The time is 6:02 p.m. We will begin with our invocation and pledge of allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Merritt. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next is our ceremonial items. So for the first two, we need our planning department. So, Rubo Brian, I don't know you yet. It'd be nice to meet you. And Allison Cook. Thanks for joining us, Allison. So we have two awards that will be presented to this fabulous crew. First is the presentation of the American Planning Association 2021 Texas Planning Gold Award in the category of Economic Development Planning to the City of Farmers Branch I-35 Corridor Vision Study. So the APA Texas Planning Awards program recognizes individuals, organizations, and communities for outstanding contributions to planning in Texas. Any APA Texas member may nominate plans, projects, programs, individuals, or organizations to several categories. The awards committee evaluates nominees based on their originality, innovation, engagement, implementation, and effectiveness, quality, and promotion of planning. The Economic Development Planning Award honors efforts to transform economies and stimulate economic development in communities of all sizes. Examples include economic development plans, economic recovery initiatives, urban and regional economic analysis, commercial district revitalization, corridor revitalization, town center developments, and strategic plans for economic development and market studies. The planning team submitted the I-35 Corridor Vision Study in this award category, and the study received the Gold Award. Staff summarized the goals and objectives of the study and the application as follows. The challenge to transform decades-old, higher-rated, underperforming industrial highway corridor into something greater than it is today. The vision is to create a world-class place to live and do business and along an attractive gateway. The solution, create a modern urban industrial district with opportunities for mixed-use development and highway-oriented commercial amenities and leverage existing assets and increase property values along the corridor. The City of Farmers Branch adopted the I-35 Corridor Vision Study in February of 2021, which provides a roadmap to the corridor's future, guiding land use, developing public investment decisions while laying the groundwork necessary to achieve the desired vision. It is important that the corridor reflect the city's reputation for excellence in order to better position the corridor for the longer term, including continuing to attract and retain new businesses and develop within the corridor, and providing amenities for residents and employees. The vision study recognizes the uncertainty in the market created by the COVID-19 pandemic and has resulted in strategies that are flexible and allow the city to be responsive to market demand in the recovery from COVID-19. The vision study provides a comprehensive list of strategies for implementing the corridor vision based on feedback received from businesses and residents, including detailed information about when and who should implement each strategy. Implementation efforts have begun, including initiating the TIF district to provide a dedicated funding source for implementing the study recommendations. Now, if that wasn't enough, they have won another one. through what the APA Planning Awards program recognizes. Again, we'll just go right to the Resilience Award, which recognizes a strategy that increases the ability of our community to recover from and adapt to shocks and stresses, resulting in becoming a stronger, better prepared than ever before. Planning team submitted the Open FB from parking lot to Parkway in this award category and received the silver award. The CARES Act sent funding directly to the city and county officials to aid departments, individuals, and businesses with the hurdles of COVID-19 health restrictions. During the pandemic, the city of Farmers Branch rapidly created the Open FB Parking Program to assist local businesses with providing outside dining options and other modifications to the building environment to aid in social distancing, curbside pickup, and to-go service. Cadillac Barbecue, Odd News Brewery, Equitas, Luego Leon, Four Corners Cafe, or a few of the restaurants received assistance under this program to provide outdoor dining options. And I can say that not all of this is without hard work. A lot of this comes at the request of council. Sometimes it can be demanding from the group that is up here currently, but also from the groups that sat here before us. This team, which is talented with its members that you see here today, but members past that all had a piece and a part of these awards and of these programs, which have been implemented in the vision that we have for the future. And so I just want to say thank you for taking on this opportunity to take a look at how Farmers Branch can change, how we can be better, and how we hope that in years down the road we have a much more beautiful, vibrant, and wonderful place to live, and that all will be without you all. And so I just want to say thank you, and they elected you to speak. So come on up.
I would like to thank the Planning and Economic Development departments for coming together. You don't always see these departments merged in cities, but they are together here, and somehow we just get along. It's not typical, but the award did say economic development and planning, so I am quite proud of that. And we have a great team, and this was a lot of hard work. It's all behind the scenes hard work to get this stuff done, from what we call parklets, the outdoor patios, to other things that make Open FB special. It took a lot of people, and so people here today, people on the council, on the committee, and the city manager, and John Wynn, whoever he is, somewhere. So it literally took everybody. Public Works probably had a hand in it, and Parks and everybody. So thank you to our team and the mayor for allowing us to do good work.
Next is E3, presentation of awards to the top 4 winners in the art scavenger hunt. Maria, you helping out with this one?
Yep.
There it is. All right, so the Farmers Branch Art and Culture Committee, in conjunction with the Parks and Recreation Department, held its first ever art scavenger hunt from August 9th to September 6th, 2021. A total of 15 photos of famous works of art were placed in various parks, landmarks, and outside several businesses in Farmers Branch. Individuals and families had the opportunity to explore Farmers Branch and submit their findings for a prize. There was no cost to participate in the activity. Several families mentioned they visited parts of Farmers Branch they'd never seen before and really enjoyed the opportunity to bond with their family during this activity. Before we announce the winners, let Maria say a few words if she would like.
Thank you. This was our first time doing the scavenger hunt, and it was and for Gail Cope's idea, and it was a huge success. So I just want to say thank you to Gail for doing this, finding some great locations, some very challenging locations. The feedback we heard was great, so we hope to do this again soon. So my thanks to Gail for doing this. So I want to announce the winners.
I'm Scott Salmon, Chair of the Arts and Culture Committee, and we have 30 trophies to hand out today, including a tie for third place. That's going to be our first one. And we have in third place tie will be a Buddha family, and also the Khatri family, and I believe the Buddha family is collecting the trophy on behalf of both families. So congratulations, third place. Thank you. In second place, we have Johnny Jackson. Congratulations, Johnny. And in first place, getting a chance to explore all of Farmers Branch and the beautiful art that is starting to pop up everywhere in this beautiful city of ours, is the Ramos family. Congratulations, Ramos family. In first place. I think we're going to get a picture.
Now, can we squeeze it in? A little bit? Yeah, there we go. Okay, Mayor, come on out. There you go. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Congratulations to all the families and participants of the Gail, thank you for your leadership, as well as the rest of the committee. You guys are doing some fantastic work. The next five from the talent segment of our faculty, which is our communications department. So someone is going to have to take the photos for Jeff.
Oh, we don't have here.
Me and them. But first is the presentation of the 2021 National Telly Awards, the Silver Telly, in the category of online public interest and awareness in the City of Farmers Branch Communications Department for the Economic Development Year in Review 2020 video. So the Telly Awards annually showcase the best work created within television and across video for all screens. This year's Telly Award winners represent work from some of the most respected advertising agencies, television stations, production companies, and producers around the world. This year, the Farmers Branch Communications team won 2 Tellys, including 1 gold statuette for the 2020 COVID response update and a silver Telly 2020 Economic Year in Review video. And we won't stop there. We also will be presenting the 2021 Telly Award for the Golden Telly in the category of local TV general public interest awareness to the City of Farmers Branch Communication Department for the COVID response update 2020 video. And so this year the team won 2 Tellys, including 1 gold statuette for the 2020 COVID response update and a silver Telly also for the 2020 Economic Year in Review video. And so the presentation is also for the 2020 statewide TAMIA second place Award of Excellence in the category of electronic newsletter or magazine to the Farmers Branch Communications Department for the branch bulletin, one which we can all sign up for and should receive. And so second place is the Award of Excellence, for that category of electronic newsletter, magazine, again, bulletin. It's an interesting one. The title is the legislative. And so the last award is the 2020 National First Place Savvy Award in the category of electronic newsletter to the Farmers Branch Communications Department, also for the branch bulletin. And you can see all 5 of these awards up here displayed proudly. I know Jeff is recently new to the Farmers Branch family, picking up for longtime communications director Tom Bryson, but he has done so very well. He picked up the ball and began running with it, has his own ideas, his own direction, It's something that's added to what we've already built here. It continues to make our community very great, not only in the way that we reach out to our constituents, but across the various platforms in which we try to communicate. Some people often say that they don't get enough communication, but I promise you, all that Jeff does, puts out and distributes to our community. If you missed it, it's because you were trying. And so I just want to thank him and his team for all that he's doing. And I see here that I missed one award. I don't want to leave any of the awards out because they're a fantastic team, but they also got first place Saturday award in the category of Education and Training Video, the Farmers Branch Communications Department for the City Council Leadership Orientation. And so with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to the man that's collected all this hard work, Jeff Brady.
I can speak, you do.
Are you sure?
You want to phone?
Mayor, well, you know, it's dangerous to turn the microphone, a live mic, over to a former news guy with no teleprompter, because I don't know when to stop. Okay. I want to say publicly, I've never had a chance to do this, but I do want to say publicly to the council, to our city manager, and to the city, how grateful and humbled I am to have joined this staff. This is a phenomenal team. I have learned that over the course of the last year, and I consider this one of the premier cities in terms of how it's run in all of North Texas. So I'm blessed to be here, and I think everyone who lives here is equally blessed. And I also want to say that none of this hardware would be possible without a very talented team of contractors and staff who make it possible. So, and my homage to Tom Bryson, thank you for mentioning him. My predecessor was legendary in this field, so I have a long way to go. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Next is our report on study session items, which will be led by Councilmember Merritt.
Thank you, Mayor. Study session started at 3 p.m. this afternoon. The council went over item A1, which was the discussion of regular agenda items. Councilwoman Ratana discussed item I7 on the consent agenda, discussing the purchase of equipment for the recreation center, which led to a discussion of middle school age programming needs and space and solutions. And so there will be some follow-up on that coming forward. Councilwoman Williams discussed item I7 as well. She reiterated the programming needs and concerns and looking for a safe haven for our middle school aged children. The mayor asked for other comments on this as we were going around. Councilmember Lynn augmented the discussion about middle-aged children, looking to increase some options from structured activities. The mayor also refreshed the history of the dog park and how Montgomery Elementary is now an opportunity for further park programming. Councilmember Driscoll augmented the discussion around the Montgomery need for some more free space and open space. Moving on, Councilmember Lynn talked about item I-12 with the Dallas County campus and the water runoff. His question was answered by Public Works Director Mark Bentley. Also discussed item I-25, which he's carrying over to item K4 this evening, and we'll discuss that at that point. Additionally, I brought up conversation on I-1, which was the discussion of our, turn my page here. Taking notes is a lot of trouble, let me tell you, trying to listen and write. So we give our city secretary all the kudos that we can, because it's not fun to do, but we'll do our best. Item I1 was redistricting criteria. Got some clarification on that it doesn't supersede the city charter. We also talked about item I6, which was the funding agreement with TxDOT, where the extra monies that we're now paying a lesser amount are moving back into the Pike Street Fund. We also talked about the firefighter, item I8, the firefighter coats and pants, the bunker units, bunker sets. And we understand we're in the final year of that particular program, where each of the firefighters will have 2 sets of equipment, which is necessary for their support of our community. And I also talked on items I-17 and I-18, which were grant informations from the State Energy Conservation Office, where the city had applied for and which should be receiving grants back from the state in amounts that will go back into future sustainability efforts and projects. That concludes the regular agenda item. Then we move to item A2, which we received a review of the Farmers Branch initial assessment of the 2020 census data and its effects to the city council districts. We had a presentation by Josh Katz from Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, Alcosta, LLP out of Austin. Lots of information regarding the legalities and the requirements and criteria necessary for redistricting our city. We move to item A3, which is we received a report, an update, on the results from the 2021 Resident Satisfaction Survey from Assistant City Manager Ben Williamson. Again, a lot of information regarding the responses and the distribution of information on that. Item A4 was a presentation on road diet for thoroughfares. There was a discussion led by the mayor on presentation given by Director of Public Works Mark Bentley, discussing the road diet and addressing the proposals and the necessary process discussions that would initiate that particular concept. So much more to come on that. And then lastly, we did item A5, which was future items. Councilmember Driscoll had nothing to add except for the items that were already referenced in that. Councilwoman Williams discussed creating a preparatory meeting for an upcoming study session in December about strategic planning. The city will have a strategic planning retreat. The city council will have a strategic planning retreat in January. So we are going to meet as a council and discuss the preparatory work for that. Councilwoman Ratana wants to explore a joint meeting with the Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District to discuss strategic planning, jurisdiction issues in light of some recent issues that we've had in our community, and making sure that we're on the same page with our partners at the school district, and also reiterated the need for the focus in middle school age programming from Parks and Recs. And lastly, I added the need for communication of our strategic planning in January, as well as the preparatory meeting in December, making sure that our communication, and we just heard from Jeff Brady that communication is doing a wonderful job here, will continue to do a wonderful job in making sure that the community is aware of all the efforts that are forthcoming as in that regard. And then we move to executive session at 5:17. Mayor, that's my long report on study session items, and I'm glad I don't have to do it for a few more cycles. Thank you.
It's long but thorough, so thank you. Next is the city manager's report on items of community interest.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to say a word of thanks to our City Secretary, Amy Piocana, and Administrative Assistant Valerie Hawkins on behalf of Mayor and Council, certainly myself, for putting on an incredible boards and commissions appreciation dinner this past Friday night. It was a fantastic evening, and I know that we were able to honor our boards and commissions, and a couple in particular. Mayor, did you want to mention some? You made some announcements on the I guess the best board and the best volunteer. Did you want to make a note of that, or?
I mean, you were there, man. No, this year for kind of one of our board committee individuals of the year, we selected Omar Roman from our historical park board for his contributions, not only into the volunteer hours, time, commitment, energy that he did. It's just we had a very, very good group of people, and it was a very hard group to choose from. But when looking at everything, Omar kind of rose to the top, so he selected him. And then after several years of fighting for something that they believed in this community, something that they wanted to see advocated for, with a lot of ups and downs, taking it to the public, coming back, and eventually council finding the dollars and the resolution to enhance and renovate our library board won board and commission of the year for just that effort and their willingness to stick something out. It just kind of shows that our boards and commissions, you can make a difference, you can make an impact, as long as it's something that you believe in and you keep fighting for. Eventually we will listen to that, we will find a way, and we will help move this community forward. So just want to thank everyone on our boards and commissions, everyone that serves and volunteers, because your time, energy, and effort doesn't go unnoticed. It's definitely commendable, and as a lot of us who have started on various boards and commissions, we understand that commitment and the difference that you're making in this community. So it's noted, and just a huge thank you from all of us up here.
Excellent. Dallas County recently lowered the COVID-19 risk level from red to orange as COVID-19 metrics continue to improve. In addition, COVID-19 vaccinations for children ages 5 to 11 have been available for nearly 2 weeks, and thousands of North Texas families have opted in. Our city's health officials remind everyone 5 and over to get vaccinated. For more details, go to dallascounty.org/COVID-19. Take a moment on November 20th to wobble before you gobble and get an extra start on shedding those holiday pounds. Our branch aquatic staff will introduce the aquatic fitness classes offered at the Farmers Branch Aquatic Center. Join us there at 8 a.m. on Saturday, November the 20th. Sign up to participate in the first annual Classic Car Show and local fuel pop-up coffee shop, also on Saturday, November the 20th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Farmers Branch Historical Park. Organizers want originals, restored, or custom completed classic cars, trucks, and pickups from 1900 to 1989. Our Aquatic Center has partnered with the North Pole Elves to accept mail for Santa. Have your kids write a letter to Santa Claus, and they will get a letter from him in return. They can be dropped off from November the 15th to December the 11th in the Margaret Young Natatorium. Get ready to strap on skates for another season of skating under the stars as Farmers Branch's annual outdoor ice skating rink returns to the Children's Health Star Center beginning Friday, November the 26th at 5 p.m. Registration is required. Go to christmasinthebranch.com for registration. Download FPTX Connect, the new Farmers Branch app. It's quick and easy. The new app allows residents a direct mobile way to communicate with City Hall. Report a concern, learn about events, or sign up for the branch bulletin with just a few quick clicks. Visit fbtxconnect.com. DART has major changes coming to the bus routes in Farmers Branch and everywhere else. Join us online Friday, November the 19th at 12 noon for a fun live stream Q&A session with DART leaders about the new routes. Just go to the DART Facebook page next Friday, November the 19th at 12 noon to join the discussion. And finally, you can sign up for e-news at farmersbranchtx.gov to have current city news and information delivered directly to your email inbox regularly. With that, Mayor, that's the City Manager's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Next up is citizen comments. There's a 3-minute time limit for each citizen to speak. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial. No disparaging or inflammatory remarks directed at any member of the City Council or staff will be allowed. We have 4 people signed up to speak tonight. First is David Prince. Name and address, please.
First, I'd like to thank you for the Merry Christmas on the front of the building. My name is David Prince. I'm the owner of Eagle Gun Range at 14400 Midway Road, and I want to thank you also for allowing my indoor gun range to move into your beautiful city. If you'll please permit me, I'm going to read this so that I can cover all the issues. I purposely paid a massive premium for the building on 14400 Midway in Farmers Branch precisely because of the massive traffic flow and vehicle count. I paid a premium because I knew I could save money on advertising. More eyes see my monument signage because I face Midway. When I made the very large investment purchasing the building in Farmers Branch, I was financially counting on traffic flow. I did not consider my investment as risky back then. I hope your decision does not turn my good decision investment into a risky one. By reducing the number of lanes, you'll increase congestion, and people will seek less congested thoroughfares to travel. Less vehicles equals less eyes seeing my monument signage equals loss of my real estate investment in the city of Farmers Branch. I would respectfully request that you treat this proposed matter as you would a possible zoning change. It is my opinion you should solicit everyone's individual opinions that currently have businesses along Midway Road, and I hope you are informing potential investors in your city of your plans to shrink traffic flow. Also, I see from your proposal that you plan on increasing the size of sidewalks to 6 feet. I'm confused as to why you would do this in majority commercial zoning area. Walkability does not appear to me as a major benefit to anyone in this area along the corridor, suggested corridor. 6 feet sidewalks are commonly in a mixed-use development. I'm also confused. On one hand, Addison is increasing lanes along Midway from Spring Valley to Keller Springs. On the other hand, Farmers Branch is reducing them from Spring Valley to McEwen. Addison's going from 6 to 7 lanes. Farmers Branch is going 8 to 6 lanes, as I understand it. Forgive me, it just seems this plan will bring beauty to those that do not commute, but congestion and heartache to the workers and the businesses that depend on expedient travel to get home, to get work to home so they can spend time with their families. My humble suggestion is that you would spend the proposed $2.8 million to incentivize businesses to fill the tremendously empty commercial property along that same corridor. Give Ms. Allison and the EDC these funds and watch her bring life to this area and taxpayers. If it is beauty you're seeking, why do you not just add floral to the existing medians? This stretch of Farmers Branch is already much more beautiful than the stretches of Dallas and Addison Midway Road combined.
10 seconds.
Thank you. By the way, if you feel requirements that by the way, I feel your requirements that public comments be given to you before 5:30 is limiting citizens to be able to express their views. Often citizens come to the council meetings to obtain information and hear your discussion. Possibly only then will they have questions that deserve to be heard. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for all the volunteer hours that you've given to this organization, and bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince. Next is Quinn Mercado. Quinn Mercado. Going once, going twice. Next up is Johannes Hilkema.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Johannes Hilkema, 2581 Brandywine Drive, Farmers Branch, 75234. As you folks probably know, I chair and have been working for the last 4 years with the Historical Board. And at the present time, I chair that board. And it's a wonderful place to work. You've already commended Omar on his work on our behalf and on behalf of the city. But, you know, about a year and a half ago, before COVID attacked, one of the big projects that our board had was the barn. And even before I got on that board, people labored long and hard, as some of you know, to make it work. Well, just so happened, we were just about to cross the goal line with that barn. And what happened? COVID came and tackled us within a yard. So my purpose here is not to say, all your programs are great. And I'm not here to boost one over the other, except mine. Except mine. I don't want you to forget the barn. I know you won't, because I promised my wife 88 years, so I'm going to really hold on to that promise, and will be here on a regular basis just to remind you about this barn and all that it can do for the park and for the city. Anyway, thank you for listening. But I'll be back. That barn's, because I know you guys are going to, and ladies, going to make that barn work. I know there's money somewhere, grant money, but somewhere there's $4 or $5 million to build that barn. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Hilkema, and just keep those hopes alive, because we might have some updates for you in the near future.
Thank you.
Huh? Yeah, actually you can. It's been reduced. Next, our next speaker and final speaker, Grace Spees.
Good evening, Mayor Dye, members of the council. Grace Spees, representing the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce, 1800 Valley View Lane, Suite 260, Farmers Branch 75234. We're just here with a chamber update for you guys. I've got calendars being passed around. We just want to make sure that we're doing our best to communicate with you all the events and things that we have coming down the funnel. So I just want to bring to your attention that following after Thanksgiving break, we will have a ribbon cutting a week, almost to the end of the year. We definitely have a backlog of businesses that have opened since the end of 2019 and in 2020 that have not been celebrated, and several businesses have changed hands. Many of you might be familiar with the new Old City Cafe and the new owner of Daylight Donuts at the corner of Webb Chapel and Beltline. So again, we want to really make sure that we're doing our best to celebrate each business that's investing in this city. I also want to bring to your attention that next month, on Tuesday, December 14th, we will have our annual Best of Farmers Branch Awards Luncheon. Our nominations are open on the website until Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, we will shift it to votes for the businesses that have been nominated. Nominations are open to any business. It is not restricted to chamber members only. So we definitely invite your feedback and input. And you might notice that there's a fun branding to that. It's a little bit animal print. We know it's been a wild couple years navigating business through COVID, through supply chain shortages, staffing issues. So we really want to celebrate the businesses that have persevered and survived through the last 2 years. So definitely invite you all to be there. And just a side note, in the spirit of communication this evening, we do want to make sure we're doing our best to communicate with all of you. So if there is an alternate form that you would like, a different email address, phone number, text messages, we have made all of our event information available, easy access on the homepage of our website. We're very active on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, so you can always reach out to me as well. We want to make sure that you all know, we know that you're busy, but that you can plug and play with our chamber and our business community where it makes sense for you. So again, thank you all for your support. I echo what Mr. Prince said and many others. Thank you all for the service that you give to our city. We greatly appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Next is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented and make a special note that our slate of boards and commissions is therein. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Rotana.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is a curveball. We are going to go to K3, consider approving resolution number 2021-171, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract for social services with Metropress Services, Inc. in the total amount of $160,000 for year 2022 and $450,000 for year 23, and take appropriate action. Mr. Williamson.
Mayor and Council, Ben Williamson, Assistant City Manager, to discuss Resolution 2021-171. The subject of this is two different service levels through one contract with Metropress Services. One is a home rehabilitation program. The other is going to be the future Metropress Services Center. And so there's been a lot of information, especially about the service center out there. And so I'll talk a little bit about how these have been packaged together for your consideration tonight. So love putting together contracts for your consideration. There's several themes you're always going to see in there. One is we identify the funding source. We want to make sure that that was the direction from council. Is both programs are coming from the American Rescue Plan Act. In accordance with that, there's some reporting requirements. And so a shout out to Sherelle for making sure to coordinate with Metropress Services that we're on the same page so we can make this successful with Metropress Services. Anytime you see a contract, we're going to make sure there's clear definitions that guide the programs in both of these. And we also put a line in there that funding is contingent upon continued funding from ARPA. So we want to make sure we get our funding before we promise funding that's coming from a different source. We also time-bound both programs. We built the contract. It's not built in a vacuum. We did build it with a strong partnership from our city attorney and from Metropress Services giving us feedback on the programs. So the future Metropress Services Center, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because Tracy Eubanks is here from Metropress Services with his team and paints a much better picture of how this is going to be in the future, and they've done a great job with that. But I just want to make sure you see the funding levels. It's start with $110,000 if the contract's allowed to be executed, and then in the next fiscal year, the additional $450,000. So packaging that together puts together $560,000. And below, you'll see some of the different elements of the facility. But again, I'm going to have Tracy and his team up here after me to talk about those elements so you can see that picture come to life and be adequately displayed for you all. The one that's completely new that you haven't heard as much about is going to be the home rehabilitation program. And so this one came from council discussion along with the new service center at the budget retreat and through the budget process. And give special thanks to Councilmember Atana for this. She gave a lot of guidance on where to find information to build this type of program. And so it started with $50,000, again, from ARPA funding. It's going to sunset in 2023, so we're putting a timeline on it. And then we built some program elements in there. So we went out there and found what are the best elements of the programs that are out there that also protect the city but allow us to be successful. And so it kind of breaks the different repairs into three categories. So there's that emergency repair assistance program, which is going to be just things that were unforeseen that happened that don't help you live in your house. So pipes breaking, other things that are just unforeseen that is there a way to help out? Repair, accessibility assistance. This is something Metropress has done traditionally in the past when there was opportunities, and so you're going to see ramps and other elements to help our residents that may have mobility issues still utilize their home. And nice nuance here is also exterior repair assistance. And so sometimes, we have a wonderful property maintenance code that, my code enforcement manager, Leo Bonanno, and the council worked through this year. Sometimes some of those things catch up and just, it's tough to catch up, right? Your fence is falling over, this is happening. It creates a pathway between notices from code enforcement and Metropress Services. So if there's some way there that needs a little bit of a helping hand to get caught back up, even painting on the side, and you'll see these types of programs out there, it creates a pathway for that as well through our code enforcement office. But for any of this to happen, there's some rules that have to be in place. So, if we're going to put this money in there, we want to make sure you're current on your property taxes. It's got to be a primary residence. Have to have homeowner's insurance. So you don't want to invest in it and see the investment go away. And then proof of residency for the preceding 3 years. And the property, of course, must be in Farmers Branch. And so contract gets a lot more detailed on those, but it's a nice pathway to offer a helping hand that did not exist before this was created. And so we're able to put this together rather quickly and bring it to you all for consideration. That is my piece. There's a much nicer looking piece after this that's from Metropress Services. Do you have any questions for me specifically around the home rehabilitation program?
Councilmember Lynn, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Ben, in regards to Project 2 here, the home rehabilitation program, I don't know what the metrics are for reporting back to the council as to where money has been spent or how much money has been spent. So I'd like to see maybe a caveat to that, either a quarterly or at least a semi-annual report to the council of where those dollars are spent, so we know what we're looking at and if we can maybe suggest other people to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. So the program does have a reporting feedback loop built into it. Metropress already gives us a robust reporting every quarter as part of their invoicing system for the other contracts for service. It wouldn't be a problem to get a little bit of additional information. I anticipate there will be a little setup time as we get the program up and running, but definitely we can report back to council. And all of our nonprofits do report to the council once a year, and so the timing would be ripe in April, March when they do that to give kind of feedback on where this program's gone if it does move forward. But absolutely.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Ben at this time? If not, I'll ask Mr. Eubanks to approach the microphone.
Mr. Eubanks, you may use that as battery stand, but the arrow's right and left. That's where you need to be.
Good.
I do have to ask where you got that tie.
Huh? You know where I got this tie. And about how much I paid. I'm Tracy Eubanks. I'm representing Metropress Services, 13801 Hutton Drive currently for another year and a half in Farmers Branch, 75234. Thank you very much for allowing me to present about this exciting project, and thank you for those of you that were able to attend our ceremonial groundbreaking this morning. That was an exciting time for us, a milestone, you would say. A reminder, the request related to the new facility is one that we also submitted to our other three suburban partners, Carrollton, Coppell, and Addison. And I certainly, if you ask the question in a moment after I do my presentation of where we stand on those requests, I'd be happy to provide you an update. There we go. So just an overview of the project. We began looking at this about a year and a half before the pandemic. So we'd already decided that one, we needed a larger space, a more accessible space, and for 50 years we have leased space and we bumped around a lot. And we are unfortunately in a growing sector. And the pandemic just magnified that and exposed some of the needs in the community that we believe will be there for quite some time. So we launched actually before the pandemic. Our timing was wonderful. It was February of 2020 we launched our capital campaign to build a new building. And at that time we'd identified property. So we did launch that in August of 2020. It's a $15.8 million goal that we have, which includes purchase of the property near the corner of Josie and Beltline, and includes the construction of the facility. Again, it's 4.6 acres. It was the former First Christian Church property that had been there for about 6 decades. It is in a neighborhood empowerment zone, so it's an economically disadvantaged area. And if you look at, and you'll see a map in a moment, but that is where the people we serve live. About 40% of the folks that live, that we serve, could walk to our new facility. I'm not going to go through all the stats, but obviously it's an area where there is lower income levels and lower educational attainment. In this project, we hope will improve accessibility, improve our capacity and ability to serve, make a better impact. Obviously, having a DART bus stop right out front is going to add a lot of value to those that we serve. It will be a 48,000 square foot facility, so to put that in perspective, we currently, between our office on Hutton and our warehouse, which is on Midway near the airport, we have about 26,000 square feet, so we'll grow pretty dramatically. We're going to be expanding areas like the area where our social workers are. We need more social workers and more space for those folks. We want to expand the self-sufficiency aspect of what we do, which is more workforce, more employment opportunities, more training, more education. And so we'll be able to expand that. We also, and if you've been to our place in the last year and a half, you notice that our wonderful niche grocery store Pantry is now out in the parking lot because of the demand. Our numbers are significantly higher, so much larger pantry allowing us to get back inside again, but also building in from what we learned on the pandemic that we could do emergency assistance if needed in case of a tornado or some other type of disaster. We're adding a teaching garden, not as much to produce a lot, but also just to engage our community and teach gardening skills. And then we'll have a large volunteer center so we can host larger groups. And also we're looking at adding some third-party partners to the space, mental health, things that we don't do, mental health providers, domestic violence providers, those types of folks. We want to make sure that those complementary services are readily available. I won't go through all the stats, but obviously we're in the customer service business. We want to make sure that we get people processed quickly. If you are about to be evicted or you don't have the water turned on or you're a senior living in the dark, you don't need to wait 2 weeks for us. So we want to make sure we get you in quick. We believe we can improve on that. We know we're going to serve a lot more folks just because of the proximity to those that we serve. One of the things we're finding is the need for food and security is extremely high right now. We do see that expanding dramatically. And again, going back to client choice pantry, we do want to make sure that we're not in healthcare. We do work with a lot of healthcare providers. We want to make sure that the people we serve have access to quality, affordable healthcare. Just a little bit about the timeline. Again, we had ceremonial groundbreaking this morning. We started this in August, as I mentioned. We'll start construction of some sort. There's a construction fence around the property now, which makes it look real for us. We'll start construction in January. We hope to be done by April of 2023, maybe sooner. It'll just depend on all the supply chain issues we currently have in the world. A little bit about our budget, just so you see from how we're spending the $15.8 million. Again, most of it's purchasing property. It is building a building. It is the cost of fundraising and is building in contingency. We do believe that once we open, we will have increased costs for some period of time. We want to make sure we build in the opportunity to hire the adequate staff based on what those needs are. I talked about the heat map. Excuse me. If every one of those dots, this is pre-pandemic, but this is where our clients were in 2019, let's say. Each dot represented 10 families. You can barely see it. I don't know if that. There is a nice big red heart, which is where we're going to be. And there to the left down here is a heart where we currently are, where there's no clients. So we actually, when we're doing the search for our current location, we said, where are there no people? Let's go there. And so we've been improving upon that. We're going to be right there at the epicenter of our community. If you look at the Metropress area as a whole, not city boundaries, we're in the center of where we think we need to be. A little bit about the facility itself and show you some pictures. It is 48,000 square feet. You see Josie to the right there, so Josie will be to our east. We'll have a Josie address as well when we open. On the back side, you see a circle says retention pond. I'm glad to say we will not have to have that now, so we have extra space to use for green space. Plenty of parking there and easy access to the community. And just show you some of the renderings. This particular image is facing Josie for the most part. This is a tilt wall structure. It looks, Gensler did a great job on the design. It takes a tilt wall, it makes it look really, really nice. By adding a little bit of color, adding a lot of windows. We wanted it to be a place that people felt comfortable going into. Most people that come to us don't want to ask for help. They feel ashamed, and we don't want that to occur. This is a community space. It is a welcoming space. We want to make sure everybody walks in with dignity and feels that when they come see Metrocrest. And that's what we'd call the front there, the welcome area, which is where we'll be our lobby, where we process folks. You come see your case manager. To the right down there, a little bit further, says pantry. We'll have a separate pantry instance, so if you're coming in for the pantry, you can come shop and pick up healthy food for you and your family. We started delivering food, and I know Bev's in the audience behind me, so I'm about to say something she probably is going to regret, but we started delivering food during the pandemic to seniors out of necessity, and I see that being a part of what we do. We need to make sure we get food to folks. And we've learned that we were not as accessible as we thought we were. We were not on a robust DART line. We did not take groceries to folks. We made it hard to help people that couldn't get to us because of transportation barriers. So we believe we're going to be able to break down a lot of those things. A few images from the inside. This is our computer lab. We do believe in helping people find jobs, work on their resume, whatever it might be. There's some counseling rooms there as well. This is right off the lobby, so you can come in every day and look for work. Nice pantry, colorful, respectful. A lot of produce is what is a big focus for us. And the volunteer center, again, if you have 50 people from the city that want to volunteer, I want to be able to say yes. I can't say yes today, but we'll be able to say yes once we open. Also, this big area is attached to some multi-purpose rooms with flex walls. So like back in February, we could have opened, we could put cots in if we need to put cots in. We have built in a couple showers. We built in a washer and dryer. So if we need to help in an emergency, if one of our cities asks us to do anything, we have the ability to do so. We'd like to be part of that plan. And just an overview here of the first floor, there's a second floor. So the first floor is really all about client-facing, the pantry, the social workers, workforce, helping people find jobs, et cetera. And the second floor is all about people like me, upstairs, not client-facing, as well as our employee break room. And why mention a break room? Everybody has a break room, but for us, a lot of our employees, especially social workers, under a lot of stress every day. It is a stressful job. And being able to get up and away and be in your own place, even sit outside, the little area, sit outside, we think is important for the mental health of our own folks. I mentioned 15.8 million. We've raised 9.5, or maybe it's 9.6 as of today, actually. We've got a lot of solicitations outstanding. We've got a lot of requests that we'll be pushing out in January. A lot of this money is coming from foundations, a lot from individual giving. We'll have some naming rights that have already been purchased by folks. We'll have more of that. So to us, we see this as a community project. We'll probably have more donations or more donations than most nonprofits will in this situation because Metropress is a community organization. We do expect a lot of people wanting to be a part of this. So, and that's my presentation. And again, we did make requests to the other 3 cities.
Mr. Eubanks, before I allow or ask fellow council members to make any comments or questions to you regarding this item, I do want to say thank you for your leadership. And not only you, I see several board members, employees, volunteers, and people that are about this cause, one that's a great cause, one that benefits so many in our community, and those when they need it. And as you've always maintained, and a comment I've always loved, is you're not a handout, you're a hand up. And you can truly see that. You've always been innovative and taken leadership positions in terms of helping move Metropress services forward. How can we help more people in the community? And whether that's the Safe and Sound program, which you piloted with us, whether it's this new home Renaissance program and other opportunities, I just can't thank you enough for your willingness to give to the members of not only our community, but Carrollton, Addison, Coppell, Dallas, it goes on. You don't really turn anyone away, and I've always believed in regionalism and our approach that we are much stronger together than we are individually, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of the people in this area. So I just want to say thank you for that, and I want to challenge everyone to give, because you can add $25,000 to the people that are donating to this, because I will personally write that check for you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your generosity. Thank you.
With that, I will open the floor up. I'm going to start down with Councilmember Ratana, because I know this is near and dear to your heart.
Thank you so much. I echo what the mayor's sentiments. You know, I did want to just shed light on some things, especially if you weren't a part of the budget discussions. You know, most cities have a community development department that handle the work that a Metropress Services does. And it would be so much more expensive for us as a city to be able to do the work that this amazing organization does. And so I, as a board member liaison, as a former Metropress family myself growing up, I just want to echo the importance of an organization like this, because you don't see an organization like this anywhere else in our Metroplex. I know, working in community relations and healthcare, I always tout the work of Metropress because it is a one-stop shop. And like the mayor said, it's one where they don't just give, but they actually help educate families on how to ensure that they're not in the situation that they are anymore. And so, you know, with the repair program, I know that's something that I proposed, and it's so important because if you think about a senior who's on a fixed income, who is having to boil her water because she has no money for plumbing, that's actually one of our residents. And this program is going to be able to allow for us to help pay for that. So that way she is able to take a shower with hot water and not have to boil it every day. And so and we have very real stories like that in our community. And this program specifically is going to help us mitigate that and really help our seniors that need just a little bit of assistance. And with the Building Our Future project, I mean, that's just a no-brainer for me, because it's investing in families who are also investing in the future leaders, in the kids. And they remember. They do remember the help that Metropress gave them. And so again, we were at your groundbreaking this morning. It's so exciting to see all of our community come together to really support this cause and really allow for you all to do, the experts to do the work and really to expand our reach to more families in a more efficient way. So with that, I gave my full support for this item, but also just to the organization, because you all do so much for our community. So thank you, Tracy.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Driscoll, do you have anything?
I'd just like to second and third the comments of my colleagues here, and Also like to thank you for your dedication to our broader community, and you do and provide outstanding leadership in that organization, and you help so many people in so many ways, and I know it's been not just a helping hand, but transformational for many families, and I look forward to the success of your new building and all the new services you'll be able to provide, and just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
Thank you so much, Tracy. This morning, I kept hearing this phrase, this wraparound services. And that just so resonated with me because, and especially with us adding on this, the building assistance program, it truly is, Metropress does a fantastic job of not just addressing our food shortages or hunger, but helping with healthcare, helping with therapy. I mean, you really do help the community as a whole, and you help the client as a whole person and not just that one problem. I'm so excited. I was so excited to be at your gala. I think you guys did a fantastic job, and your board did a fantastic job putting that event on. I hope it was very, very successful, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what all's coming next year, and I really appreciate you guys partnering with us with this assistance program. After working on the task force for code enforcement, I know that entire task force was really concerned that we were going to put some of our residents into kind of a cycle of debt, something that they could never catch up on. And so this is a perfect solution of how we ensure the safety and the safety of our residents and the safety of our city, but at the same time, you know, we're helping them and not forcing them out of their home, because I do think that that's really important that our seniors be able to stay at home. Multiple studies have shown that that's very important, that they are able to stay at home as long as possible, and in a small way, I think that this program will help. So I appreciate you partnering with us on it.
No, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lynn.
I'll try to be brief. As always, Tracy, you do so much for the community. Everybody certainly appreciates that. I'm really happy that we have this residential repair program as part of what you're going to be providing to the residents of Farmers Branch. As Councilwoman Rentana alluded to, several months ago, I got a call from somebody saying that there was a 91-year-old woman who lives in Farmers Branch who didn't have running water in her house. She hadn't had running water since February, if you can believe that. Her son, which is challenged in his own way, was going to the store every couple days and buying a 5-gallon jug of water and bringing it home. She was having to boil water to have safe drinking water, and bathing was a challenge and whatnot. Woman was of limited means. Some neighbors had tried to get some plumbers out to help with the issue, but the house needs a lot of help. And so I hope that this will be the first program on the list. We hate to see anybody like that, and I know that Metropress will be the right organization to help oversee that in the proper way. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Merritt.
Mr. Eubanks, I'm just echoing what has been said. Thank you for all that you do, and enjoyed the program this morning at the groundbreaking. Also attended the gala. My family has been a longtime supporter of the programs. 50 years is a fantastic achievement, as you celebrated earlier. And as you stated today, we're looking forward to another 50 years with this building going up. So once again, kudos to you and the staff and all the items that you do. And I would echo with Councilmember Lynn, if this resident could be almost the first beneficiary client in this particular program, would be fantastic as well. Okay. So thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Mr. Eubanks? We do not have anyone signed up to speak to this item, and so with that, I will move to approve Resolution 2021-171 as presented. Second by Councilmember Rentana. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously.
All right.
Hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Now we'll get back to our public hearings. J1 is conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3714, designating tax increment reinvestment zone number 4 for approximately 778 acres of land generally located along the area that corresponds approximately to the study area of the I-35 corridor vision study, award-winning, by the way, plus the Valwood Park residential area east of I-35, east and west of Dennis Drive within the city of Farmers Branch, Dallas County, Texas, and take appropriate action. Mrs. Senate.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll actually just take a few minutes if you indulge me. This item, as well as the next item, will be presented by Kira McCardle. She's our planning consultant. Some of you have met her in person, and I just wanted to point out that she is helping us from quite a bit of a distance, and I've been really happy to have her on our team because she has been the steady help during that transition period. And a big, big thank you to Mark Samuels and his team, because I think this is unforeseen before, having someone work off-site like that. But because of Mark Samuels' help, she has been able to help us. So with that, I'll give it over to Kira.
Thank you very much, Shrupa. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kira McCardle, as Shrupa said, and I'm a consultant to the Planning Department. The purpose of this agenda item, can you all see my screen before I start the presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. The purpose of this agenda item is to hold a public hearing and consider adoption of Ordinance number 3714, which designates a tax increment reinvestment zone, or TIF, TIF number 4, or it will also be known as the I-35 TIF, within the city of Farmers Branch, covering approximately 778 acres and generally located in the study area of the I-35 corridor vision study and the adjacent Valwood Park residential area, and take appropriate action. So a TIF, for those that aren't familiar, is a tool that cities and counties within Texas and many other states in the U.S. can use to finance improvements within a defined area. And within that area, the area needs to be deemed needy of improvement or needed investment. What is done in a TIF is, once it is established, so as of today, if this ordinance is passed, a base year for real property tax revenues is established. If there's an increase in the real property tax that's established within the zone, a portion or all of that increase can go within the TIF, to the TIF fund, and be used for identified projects within the defined area. So some information on the proposed TIF 4. The objective of the TIF 4 is to act as a funding source for the I-35 corridor vision study, which was completed earlier and adopted earlier this week, and to provide funding for the Valwood Park residential neighborhood. There are currently 2 other TIFs operating within the city. One is within the station area, and then the other is within the Mercer Crossing area. There was a previous TIF that had been operational, which is no longer in operation within the city of Farmers Branch, which is why this is TIF 4, the 4th TIF the city has adopted. When looking at the map, you'll notice that portions of the station area are not proposed to be within TIF 4. It is not within, state law does not allow there to be overlapping TIFs or areas that could benefit from 2 TIFs. The main land uses that you find within TIF 4 along the I-35 corridor are commercial, industrial, and warehousing type uses. And within the Valwood Park residential neighborhood, the uses are residential. There are 781 residential units within the residential portion, which make up 29% of the total area of the TIF. The residents within that area are aging. They're all from about the late 50s. So that's one of the reasons why that area would benefit from some investment. In support of the TIF, preliminary financing plan was completed by Mark Stein, who is in the audience today, should you have any questions for him. What the financing plan does is it estimates the amount of funds that will be available within the TIF over its lifetime. It's proposed that the TIF will last 25 years, and in that time, should no funds be withdrawn, it would generate approximately $36 million in funds, or about $20 million in today's buying power. With that, there are a few assumptions that were made. Those were that the inflation and financing costs would be about 3.5%, and that the city would be contributing 100% of its tax increment. The city does have the ability at any time to change the percentage of its tax increment that it is putting towards the proposed TIF. Also, there's the possibility to add to these funds should Dallas County agree to participate within the TIF. We have started to have some administrative level discussions with Dallas County regarding their participation, but they won't make a decision on participation until the TIF zone has been established. If they do decide to agree to participate, they could potentially increase the TIF fund by $5 million or $3 million in today's buying power. In addition, a preliminary project plan has been put together by staff with three main categories for projects. Those projects that are within the preliminary project plan have been pulled from the implementation section of the I-35 corridor vision study, as well as identified needs within the Valwood Park residential neighborhood. The main categories that we currently have within the preliminary project plan are land assembly, infrastructure, and walkability, access to transit, and sustainable development. Should the TIF zone be established, this preliminary project plan, as well as the preliminary financing plan, will be refined once it is established. So in closing, the recommendation is that staff recommends approval of Ordinance 3714 designating TIF 4 or the I-35 TIF zone. Should it be approved by council, the next steps are that staff, as well as the consultant, will work on finalizing the financing plan and the project plan, and those will be brought back to council for consideration in 2022. Thank you very much, staff, and as I said, our consultant, Mark Stein, are available for questions.
Awesome. Kira, thank you very much. More importantly, thank you for being awake at 5:14 in the morning to make this presentation. I know you guys have put a lot of energy and effort into it, and it's something we're thankful for, and so looking forward to hearing from the council on this. I'm definitely in support. I think it will be very beneficial, not only to our I-35 corridor study and achieving the goals that we have within that, but also as we continue to revitalize important efforts within our community to see the changes that we want to see and the beautification that we want to see in major thoroughfares and corridors. And I'd be remiss if I also didn't thank our Planning and Zoning Commission as well for the work that they've done on this prior to this meeting and in previous meetings before that to weigh in, add their opinion and value. So just want to say thank you across the board. But I will start with Councilmember Merritt this time, and we'll move back through this way.
At this time, I don't have any questions. I thank Kira for all her work, and again, I echo the work Planning and Zoning has done to review this. It is the fourth TIF that we have in the city, so we should be familiar with the processes, and I look forward to the success of this.
Okay. Councilmember Lynn. Councilmember Williams.
I don't have any questions either, except to also thank Kira for being up so early. That's obscene hour, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the I-35 corridor study is going to bring forward. So I'm excited.
Councilmember Driscoll.
I have no questions, Mayor, but I also look forward to this project's further development, and this is an important part of getting this rolling. So,
okay. Thanks. Councilmember Ratana.
No questions. Thank you, Kara, for all your work.
Okay. Does anyone have any final comments or discussion, either for Kira, our planning team, or Mr. Stein? We do not have anyone, this is a public hearing, we do not have anyone signed up to speak to this item. So with that, if there are no objections, look for someone to make a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I'll be happy to close the public hearing and move to close the public hearing and adopt ordinance number 3714.
I have a motion by Councilmember Merritt.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. You can go back to bed now.
I have one more item.
All right, J2 is consider a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3715 to adopt a multifamily development policy, amending the City of Farmers Branch comprehensive plans, which provides direction regarding new multifamily development within the city, including but not limited to guiding site layout, building location, density, open space, and building design, and take appropriate action. Is this you again?
This is me again,
Perfect.
yes.
I didn't want you to have to wait.
Yeah, thank you. So can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So the purpose of this agenda item is to consider Ordinance 3715 and conduct a public hearing, and consider Ordinance 3715, which would be the adoption of the multifamily development policy. The purpose of this policy is to provide direction for multifamily development within the City of Farmers Branch. It is a council-directed project. We did receive that direction from council in 2019. This policy, if adopted by council, will act as a supplement to the city's comprehensive plans and will be used by a number of users, including staff, developers, city council, and the Planning and Zoning Commission when new multifamily development does come into the city for consideration. It'll be used primarily at the zoning stage, but will also be used, again, as a development further down the line at the site plan stage as well. We do hope that this policy, if adopted, will be used early on by developers and staff so that we can start our discussions regarding multifamily policy off on the right foot, and there are clear expectations as to what the city would like to see in high-quality multifamily development. The policy is divided into 5 sections. I'll go over each section briefly. The policy itself in its entirety was contained in your package, as well as a more detailed description in the information memorandum. So the introduction section, the first section of the policy, really goes over the policy's intent, which I just summarized. It also talks a lot about sort of the functionality of the document and how it should be used in relation to the comprehensive plans and zoning regulation. In addition, and this is something that was new that we have added since you last saw the policy, Council last saw the policy on July 12th at the joint planning and zoning and council meeting. Since that time, we have added a section on plan review, which does recommend a review of the policy every 3 to 5 years to identify any gaps that may be in the policy, and also to assess whether or not the policy is still meeting the multifamily goals of council and our comprehensive plans. In terms of location, really this section of the policy does pull a lot from the city's existing comprehensive plans. It does discuss promoting sustainable development, so avoiding leapfrogging of development, ensuring that there are the necessary services surrounding multifamily developments, but also directing development towards the locations in the city that have been identified within our comprehensive plans. So in the east side, there are a number of locations that have been identified, as well as the station area, which is a big focus for the city, and the four corners within the central area. In terms of density, since we met on the council saw this plan on July 12th, we have made some adjustments to this section, taking into account council's direction. We have moved the minimum density for multifamily development from 45 units per acre to 55 units per acre. And then we have also added in a policy directing any multifamily development that is in proximity 500 feet to one of the major highways in the city to be a minimum of 65 units per acre. This promotes more efficient use of land. It also really moves the city away from any more garden-style multifamily development. And also, I would also like to make a point here that when we did assess the newer existing multifamily developments that we have within the city, we do really see them coming in at that 55 dwelling units per acre mark or above. So this isn't a huge leap for the city in terms of the applications we're seeing now. It's just setting an expectation and directing the form of development that the city would like to see. Site design, this section of the plan touches on many topics on how, regarding how elements of a site interact with each other, but also interact with the surrounding land uses and public space. So it discusses how a building should be oriented on the site, where it should be sited, so close to the most major street, entranceways, if it is a mixed-use development, areas that are appropriate for a mixed-use development, so more larger corridors rather than sort of secondary streets. It discusses private and public open space, and it encourages that public open space be provided. In terms of parking, it has a preference for structured parking, which is some direction that we have gotten from council. Surface parking, of course, is still possible, but there is a preference for structured parking. In terms of landscaping, most of the direction for landscaping within Farmers Branch comes from the comprehensive zoning ordinance. But this section of the policy does provide direction on how landscaping can be used effectively on a site. So to separate uses, to separate amenities from maybe ground floor dwelling units, to screen service areas, or to provide screening to adjacent land uses, things of that nature, or to provide emphasis to an entryway. So really directing how to best use that landscaping on a site. It talks about sidewalks, so connections into the public realm as well as within different areas of the site itself. And then service areas, ensuring that they're appropriately sited on a site and they aren't a nuisance to people who live within the multifamily development or within adjacent properties. The last section of the plan is the building design section, and this talks about how the structure itself should be built to be aesthetically pleasing and also maintain a human scale. So using building articulation and modulation, so those would be the variances that you would see in a roof line. Also any areas of the building that may be protruding or step back, those would be the articulation and modulation, ensuring that there's an adequate amount of windows. So if there are non-residential uses on the base floor, we do typically like to see more windows and more transparency. We like to avoid blank walls where possible. In terms of building materials, this is a bit of a tricky one given recent legislation. However, we are encouraging developers to use one or more materials in their construction, and also encouraging developers to use very durable materials. Any new multifamily that comes in at this time is going to be with the city for some time, so we want to ensure that it can stand the test of time. And lastly, building entrances and ensuring that they're a feature on the site, that they're sited appropriately on one of the more major streets that the site is adjacent to, so that they become a feature in themselves and the public knows how to access the multifamily development. Since this policy was last presented on July 12th, we have done a little bit more analysis on some sites that are within Farmers Branch currently. To simplify it today, because it can get quite detailed, I've sort of used a red light, green light, yellow light way of describing it if some of the developments we currently have meet the intent of the policy. As you can see, most of the multifamily developments that we have do pretty well, I would say. And I would also like to make a point here saying that if there is sort of a yellow assigned to a development with regards to one section of the policy, it doesn't necessarily mean that the policy would not move forward or would not get a recommendation for approval from staff. As is outlined in section 1 of the policy, there are some of every site is different, so we need to evaluate each site within the policy. We need to evaluate the policy within the context of the site. So there may be some policies that are impractical or even impossible to really develop on a site, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole development isn't without merit. Where staff would likely come to the conclusion that they would recommend denial on a project would be where we do see many of the policies not being met, and in staff's evaluation, there not being sufficient rationale for those policies or those recommendations not being met. So to close or to summarize, after the July 12th joint P&Z and council meeting, the comments that received from council and P&Z have been addressed within the document. The substance of the document really is still largely the same, but there have been a few tweaks made. In addition, the draft policy was circulated to 6 multifamily developers who do have an interest within the city. We did meet with one of the developers and received written comment from them, and we also received written comment from one other developer as well. In addition, the policy was advertised in the Dallas Morning News as is required. And on November 8th of this year, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended adoption of the multifamily policy. So that concludes my presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Kira, thanks again for the presentation. Definitely the thoroughness is you've considered what to bring forward based on our joint meeting and different meetings with developers. I'm glad you were able to bring them in on that. It's important to get their insight as they're going to be the ones doing a lot of the work. So we want to make sure that stuff works for them as well and can definitely be achieved because we don't want to be too limiting in what we're trying to accomplish with our goals. So I just want to say thank you for that and getting that amount of feedback. With that, I will go ahead and open it up for conversation. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Kira? Councilmember Tana?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much, Kira. I keep wanting to look at the podium, but I'm looking at the screen there. But so thank you so much for bringing this forward after our conversations that we've had together. A couple of things I wanted to address. Really, I love the review time that you put on there from 3 to 5 years, just to make sure that it's still something that works for our community. And probably a best practice that we need to have moving forward, and we've talked about that as far as just looking at our policies every few years. The minimum change, I think I talked to Tina about that, just increasing that to ensure that we kind of stay away from that garden style. I love that component of it. One of the things I did have a couple of questions on is the safety piece. So living on the west side, there's been a lot of crime. And I saw that you have the sub-TED practices there, which I think is great. Lighting obviously is a huge deterrent, as well as the parking situations. Two things that I know that before Tina left, I had a meeting with her, our police department, and all of the all the managers of the apartments on the west side. And two things that we talked about was parking, making sure that apartments had sufficient parking for their guests, because I know that was becoming a huge issue, especially when apartments abut some of our single-family detached residential areas. And then also making sure that communities or encouraging communities to be gated. I know that, that just allows for anybody to come in that may not be from that or visiting from that area, and we want to discourage that, especially with a lot of thefts going on in one apartment community in particular. So I wanted to just ask if the gated piece and the parking piece, when you mentioned parking, is the parking piece related to ensuring more adequate guest parking are components of this particular policy that we're talking about today, or is it a separate piece that will kind of be rolled into a separate safety type of measure as far as a best practice?
Thank you for your question. So the parking, they would mostly be addressed separately, I would say. At this level of policy, this is an amendment to our comprehensive plan, so it's providing additional information, but it's still a relatively high-level policy. As I said, as you mentioned, we do make reference to the SEPTED guidelines and policies, and we do encourage that they do be used in terms of parking design and controlled access to parking. So we have made those mentions within the policy. But I believe that the city code department is also working on another SEPTED policy. I'm not sure if it's a policy or a doc that will provide more detailed information regarding what we want to see specifically from multifamily with regard to that type of safety. Same with the amount of parking to be provided. That would be considered at the zoning stage. Usually our multifamily developments come forward in the form of a planned development district. So staff would evaluate the amount of parking at that time.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Tina about it, and we were trying to figure out where would be the best place to do that. And so it makes sense that it would be under code and also during the review. Just curious, because I know that these were components that I saw, so I wanted to make sure that it's still being addressed. It may just not being addressed under this particular provision. So thank you so much for the clarification. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may add, Councilwoman Rajana, specifically regarding the security aspect, as Kira mentioned, our Code Enforcement Division with Leo's lead, they are working on a specifically security policy for new multifamily projects within the city. So that's where these will be addressed in much more detail. So from a zoning and a land use standpoint, we did not go into that much detail from a security, lighting, camera, all that.
No, and that makes sense as a comprehensive plan. So thank you. I think that's most appropriate. Thank you so much.
Cool. Councilman Driscoll, do you have anything?
I don't have any questions. I'd just like to thank you, Kira. It's a really good job. And I think that the overall study here will add and help raise the bar for our future multifamily developments. And I know that's something that when I was on P&Z, we discussed it many, many times. And I think this is an important step forward. And thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Councilman Williams.
I don't have any questions, but thank you so much for the outstanding work. I know it took forever, so I know it's a long time coming. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilman Lynn.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a note, two notes that I had written here, and I didn't see it mentioned anywhere. One was gated access, as Councilwoman Rantana brought up earlier. The other is security cameras. And I don't know if you just said that or not.
That would fall in the same category as the gates.
Yes.
Okay, because I'd like to make sure that security cameras are specifically spelled out in this plan for any and all multifamily moving forward.
Not in this policy specifically, but the one that will come in front of you from the Code Enforcement Division, they will bring the camera aspect.
Correct. Thank you. Kira, did you have something to add?
I was just going to note that within the parking section, as Councilwoman Ratana had mentioned, there is one recommendation regarding SEPTED principles, and that does make specific reference. Now, this is only with regard to parking, to surveillance cameras, and to controlled access.
Okay. Perfect.
Sorry, Mayor. Kira, can you, for some folks that may not know what SEPTED means, can you just give a quick overview of what that is? I know we do, but.
No problem. It stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And what it is it's a fairly detailed set of guidelines where in any type of development, commercial, you often see it in commercial or multifamily or office development, you can make specific design decisions to make the area safer. So that could be things like not having large rocks within your gardening so that it could be used to throw through a window. It could be ensuring that you have appropriate lighting, making sure that there aren't bushes that someone might be able to hide behind. So there are a number of considerations that can be used and can be incorporated into design.
Thank you, Kira. Councilmember Merritt.
Thank you. Kara, thanks again for all the work. I want to ask what will probably be a very naive question. I know the answer, but I think it's important that the community hears this, that the question is, since we are discussing this, adopting the multifamily development policy, we're not changing any of the zoning across the city. We're talking about creating good development standards on the future projects that are coming forward to the city. You can say, yes, that's correct, or no, that's incorrect, or add as you'd like, but I think it's very important that we make it clear that we're not changing our zoning related to multifamily homes.
Yeah, no, that's exactly correct. And just to sort of further elaborate, if there's a multifamily that has zoning in place but hasn't yet been constructed, its zoning still stands. So this really only applies to new applications that come forward, should this be adopted today after adoption.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other comments or questions for either Kira or Sarupa? Okay, this is a public hearing. We do not have anyone signed up to speak. So with that, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action, unless there is other discussion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing and move to approve ordinance number 3715.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rotana.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Merritt. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, now you can go back to bed. Thank you. All right, next is J3, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3711 to rezone approximately 3.43 acres tract of land generally located southwest of the intersection of Valley View Lane and Josie Lane from Plan Development District number 8, PD 8, Local Retail 1, LR 1, Plan Development District number 105, which is PD 105, zoning district, including creation of the Plan Development District number 105 for one family attached townhome and take appropriate action. Mrs. Sen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Shurupa Sen, Planning Department. The project in front of you tonight is address 12877 Josie Lane. If you recognize on this aerial, this is a closed-out bank building with surface parking. And a little bit of background on why the area is shaded in green versus the area outlined in yellow. This whole property shaded in green is under common ownership, but they are separate platted lots. Whereas the project that we are looking at tonight, this kind of a L-shaped area surrounded in yellow, that's the 3.43 acres of area that is being rezoned to PD 105 or Plan Development District 105 from its current zoning of PD8 / base zoning of Local Retail 1. So the proposal is for a 42-unit townhome development. There are going to be 12 two-story buildings. Each townhome will have 2 car-attached garages, and 16 on-street parking spaces are also proposed for this project. The PD ordinance that is part of your packet includes site layout and building design standards. This is the proposed conceptual layout or the conceptual site plan. If you can follow the cursor on your screen, this is Valley View Lane. The access is through this proposed new Red Hawk Drive. This is going to be a new driveway design for this project. And this is that portion that's going to be under long-term lease from this property owner on the next shopping center property. The proposed lot layouts, this is a larger inset showing the proposed lot layouts for each townhome building. These buildings down south along the southern property line are going to be 3 units each, and these buildings that are facing the new Red Hawk Drive are mostly going to be 4 units each, except this building 4, which is going to be 5 units. This is the conceptual landscape plan. As you can see, they're treating the Red Hawk Drive as the main entryway or the gateway to the development, beautifully landscaped, or will be beautifully landscaped. The guest parking spaces that I mentioned before, they are going to be along Red Hawk Drive as well. Each of these units facing Red Hawk Drive are, of course, going to have their front facades on this direction, and their garage entry are going to be from this interior Raven Way. For these units that are facing the Muse courtyards, these are going to be their front facade, and their garage access are going to be from these dead-end courts. These are some of the build-to-zone or the setback requirements outlined in the PD itself. So the required front build-to-zone on Red Hawk Drive is minimum 3 feet to maximum 10 feet. On Kestrel Place or Lineville Drive is, again, minimum 3 feet to 15 feet. And the Muse courtyards are maximum 10 feet. So basically, we are outlining a build-to-zone for the townhome buildings, and the square footage or the ultimate design is going to be finalized at the detailed site plan phase. This is a typical streetscape section, kind of showing how it's going to be landscaped and the on-street parking as well as the tree wells. These are some of the proposed conceptual renderings provided by the applicant. The black and white elevations are attached as part of the PD 105 ordinance. From a long-range plan standpoint, we see this project as kind of the first step towards revitalizing or doing the infill development of the Four Corners area. This is within our Shopsett Branch Crossing District as per our central area plan and also guided by the Four Corners Vision Plan. So the Four Corners Vision Plan recommends mix of existing retail combined with new retail and civic space. The plan also recommends that small townhome or multifamily developments could trigger redevelopment of the larger commercial area. So that's why we see this as the first step in that direction. So the townhome proposal is consistent with the plan recommendation. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval of this PD 105 rezoning at their October 18th meeting. We did send out the required notification and have received 3 responses in favor of the request. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is present here tonight if you have any question for them and if you have any question for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one quick question because I didn't remember reading it, but maybe I misheard the way that it was stated. But none of these are going to be on a ground lease, correct? Like these
No,
are all-
not the units. Actually, let me go back to that aerial. So all I was trying to say is that Red Hawk Drive, this piece, if you can follow, this kind of roughly 52 feet wide
Okay.
land strip, that's the piece that is not being sold.
Gotcha. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions, so I just want to say thank you for that presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Sarupa or the applicant at this time?
And I don't know, Mayor, if this can be a question for Shrupa or the applicant, but do we have a projected, and this may be too soon, but a projected cost of what the applicant wishes for these townhomes to be?
I'd let the applicant answer that,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Just name and address, please.
Yes, of course. Nikki Moore with ECM Development. Our address is 2201 East Lamar Boulevard, Suite 290. It's Arlington 76006. Thank you so much for just allowing us to be here tonight and to be in partnership with you all. This has been, I love when a really, really good city plan comes together, and you have this 2008 Four Corners redevelopment plan, and you've been very patient in what that is going to look like. And so we're really, really excited to be a part of that growth and that opportunity for our Farmers Branch. So yeah, to answer your question, so typically this home builder that we have contracted with the lot sales for, he typically starts his starting price around $350,000. That's kind of the base price, and that valuation definitely does adjust per what the land value is that we're selling them for at the developed lots. And so we anticipate a value of about $415,000 per door, which would equate for about a $17 million kind of project overall in terms of value that we're kind of bringing back to the city. And so I think earlier this year in June, you all had committed to negotiating an economic development kind of incentive with us for the demolition of the current bank building, and that I think is the amount of $125,000. And so just to kind of give back on that investment, based on the city's tax rate, we'd be able to provide up to $100,000 per year in annual tax revenue that would just be for the cities alone. And that doesn't include the overall $500,000 in bonding capacity. And so we just want to take and be good stewards of the investment you're putting into the demolition of this building and then providing that value back to the city of Farmers Branch.
Thank you so much. I'm personally very excited about this. This has been, for lack of a better word, dead space for as long as I can remember, and being able to just provide a little more density for some of our longstanding retailers in this area, I think is going to be so great. So thank you for that information. Look forward to continuing to work with you.
Of course, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mrs. Center, the applicant?
I have one, Mayor. There was discussion in the planning and zoning meeting minutes regarding the fencing between the existing properties and your new project. And I believe we have a masonry brick fence now, and we're replacing it with wood. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a reason we're not going back with masonry?
You want to answer that, or you want me to?
I can, and
Okay.
then you can add to it as well. Thank you for that question, because actually Nikki had reached out to us after the P&Z, but staff as well as, correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant felt that for a residential project that backs up to single-family residential homes, the fence that they proposed, the wood fence, board on board, that seemed more appropriate for a residential use versus the existing masonry wall. And also, I believe the masonry wall is not in a very good condition.
That's true. I actually had sent out one of our project managers earlier today out to the site to take some photos. It is in pretty poor disrepair. There's a couple of sections that are actually cracking and separating from one another, and so I think in the best interest of everything, it would be probably best to demo that as well. And then, yes, in typical, when you have residential up against another residential use, an 8-foot board-on-board fence is very appropriate in this setting. I could understand that in the past, while this was a commercial drive-through bank, you would probably want the sound attenuation of a masonry wall back up against this residential, but as we're transitioning the use to something more palatable, wood fence is appropriate.
Yeah. Thank you for your answer. I appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. We do not have anyone sign up to speak, so if there are no other comments or questions, look for someone to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I move to close public hearing and to adopt ordinance number 3711.
I have a motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Merritt. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Good luck. Next is J4, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3712 for a specific use permit amendment for on-premise sale / consumption of alcohol beverages with a qualifying restaurant or facility for an approximate 6.85 acre property located at 14221 Dallas Parkway, and take appropriate action. Mrs. Senate.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of you might be remembering this application, but for those of you who were not here with us on 2019, this property has an approved specific use permit for on-premise consumption of alcohol within a qualifying restaurant. The whole property, or this whole complex, is most commonly known as the International Plaza. It's zone PD53, and PD53 actually requires a SUP approval for on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages within qualifying restaurant. The reason I pointed that out is if anywhere else within the city under straight zoning, if a qualifying restaurant was allowed by right, you do not need a separate SUP approval. However, this was unique to the PD. So they got approval of their SUP to serve beer and wine from the cafeteria at the ground floor of this building in 2019, and at that time, the plan of operations or the alcohol awareness program included their hours of operation to be from 11 o'clock to 6 p.m., and now they're trying to do it from 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. That was one of the reasons they had to come back and get the SUP amendment processed. So the building we're looking at, or for this SUP application, is the building that is parallel to Dallas North Tollway. There are also some other site photos I included in your packet. It's a really beautiful complex. When I took the pictures, Reagan helped me, the applicant, to go through the area. So on this slide, on the left is the overall site plan for that portion only. This is the building, the ground floor showing the cafeteria as well as the larger sitting area, because as part their existing TABC permit, even though they're selling the beer and wine from the cafeteria, someone can pick up the beverage and walk to one of the sitting area and sit down. So we wanted to be very clear within our SUP ordinance to make sure we show the correct exhibit. That is why this exhibit is being changed with this SUP ordinance. Also, as the applicant had informed us, they can pull catering permit through TABC and serve this lake house building, beer and wine for their catering requests. So that is why with the new SUP that is in front of you tonight, you will see the square footage is now changed, as well as this exhibits has changed, and the third thing, of course, is the hours of operation. So in a nutshell, that's what we are looking at tonight for this SUP amendment. It meets the site plan recommendations. The complex itself is office space with structured parking. The Planning and Zoning Commission looked at this SUP actually twice, October 25th as well as November 8th, and recommended approval. So if you have any question for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sen. Does anyone have any questions at this time? All right, this is a public hearing. Again, we do not have anyone signed up to speak. So with that, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I move to close public hearing and approve or adopt ordinance 3712.
I have a motion by Councilmember Lynn.
Second?
And an emphatic second by Councilmember Driscoll. Yeah. Is there any more discussion? Yeah. Is there more discussion or no? No. All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is J5. Conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3716 to amend planned development district number 53, including but not limited to the amount and location of allowable signage on approximate 12.2 acres of land described as Lot 1 and 2, Block B, Dallas Parkway, International Place, Addition 2, and Lot 1, Block A, International Place, Addition 1, and take appropriate action. Ms. Sen.
Thank you, Mayor. Same property. This time we're looking at a zoning amendment for the PD 53. The total PD 53 acreage or this International Plaza complex is about 12.2 acres platted lot. The amendment for PD 53 is specifically related to the allowable amount and location of signage on the building. So on this slide, on the right-hand side is what it looks like right now with the Trinity Industries sign on this top band. Rest of the building, we don't have any signage. And this is the proposal on the left side of your screen. So PD 53 ordinance is a bit unique in terms of signage. They have very specific signage requirements and also pretty restrictive in terms of how much flexibility staff was allowed to give on the signage requirement. It says specifically that whatever is stated in the ordinance, you have to follow that. So right now, the PD 53 allows 2 signs per elevation, and only 2 elevations are allowed to have signage. Total square footage for both signs are supposed to not exceed 500 square feet, and the location is restricted to this top band, which is 20 feet below the roof line, and not higher than 45 feet above the finished floor elevation of the ground floor, which is somewhere around in this area. So a little bit of background on this request. The department received an application for the signage amendment based on a major employer trying to relocate within the city, within this office building. And one of the criteria for them is to have visibility for their brand and their signage. And for them to be visible from the tollway, if you look at the sign in this bottom portion, it's practically not visible because it's set farther back from the freeway even on the service road. Also, this midway location gives them the visibility, and the proposed amendment, we are only recommending to add that 1 additional sign requested by this employer. We're about to bring like 300 new jobs if approved, and if decided to move into this location. 1 additional sign, so we are proposing to increase the total square footage from 500 to 700 square feet, and the location, of course, is going to be roughly midway on this elevation. So only this elevation is going to get 1 more sign. So the proposed amending ordinance is part of your packet. From the comprehensive plan standpoint, the east side plan was not very specific in terms of direction to signage. No distinct signage palette was encouraged or recommended. P&Z recommended approval of the zoning amendment at the November 8th meeting, and staff recommends approval. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer, and the applicant is present here tonight if you have any question for them.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just one question. This would be a relocation from Dallas, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. I just love saying that. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Ms. Sen or the applicant? Councilmember Lynn?
So as I read through this, I really sort of thought they would be asking for more and having larger signs. I don't have any problems with this. I already talked to folks involved, and I like the fact that the higher building, the taller buildings in Farmers Branch have corporate names on them and we can promote who's here in our city. I think that speaks well for us. I was sort of surprised that this was limited to 700 square feet. I don't know if that was our limit or if somebody was wanting more, how that was determined.
I believe the application, what was submitted to us, that square footage allows them to have the signage they requested.
Okay, well, I fully support this.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right. Again, this is a public hearing. We do not have anyone signed up to speak. So with that, I will look for someone to close the public hearing and
Mayor, I move
take
to
action.
close public hearing and adopt ordinance number 3716.
I have a motion by Councilmember Lynn, a second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes unanimously, and we look forward to seeing that sign up sooner rather than later. So. Next is J6. Conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3713 relative to the Farmers Branch Youth Program Standard of Care in compliance with the Texas Human Resource Code, Chapter 42.041B14, and take appropriate action.
Good evening.
Ms. Minter.
Maria Minter, Recreation and Culture Manager. I would like to introduce Victoria. She is in her second week of work with us with the City of Farmers Branch. She oversees our youth and teen programs. She's yet to have an opportunity to public speak, so here's a great baptism by fire opportunity for her, and she's going to talk to you about our standards of care.
Hello, good evening. Again, my name is Victoria Guerra. I'm the new recreation supervisor at the Community Recreation Center. I'm happy to be here. Okay, so here we go. To continue our exempt status for daycare state licensing, it is time for our annual public hearing to consider ordinance number 3713. To receive exemption for our Summer Funshine and Holiday Craze programs, there must be a public hearing and adoption of standards of care. This exempt status has been in place since 1995. During the 1995 legislative session, state legislators enacted Senate Bill 212, exempting municipal youth recreation programs from child care licensing requirements, providing the governing body of municipality adopts standards of care by ordinance after a public meeting. The public hearing and adoption of standards of care are an annual requirement to maintain exemption from the state licensing requirements. The standards of care addresses overall health and safety issues such as leader-to-participant ratios and facility requirements. The city has numerous policies and procedures that reach beyond the requirements and are directed to critical areas such as age, behavioral expectations, and proof of residency. And that is all we have. Any questions?
Very well done on the first public speaking
Thank you.
opportunity. Do we have any comments or questions at this time?
I just have a quick comment. I just want to welcome you officially to Farmers Branch. You're going to
Thank
have
you.
so much fun with Maria and the team, and really excited to get to work with you. Today we talked about some potential new team programming, so maybe with your fresh eyes, you can help us put something together. So
Yeah.
very supportive. Thank you so much, and welcome to Farmers Branch.
Thank you.
I would like to echo the same. Welcome. We are so excited to have you on board, and we can't wait to work with you on some new and innovative programming for the rec center, especially for our middle school age kids.
Thank you.
We're challenging you already.
Yes, let's do it.
This is a public hearing. We do have 7 people not signed up to speak. There's no one signed up to speak. So with that, I will look for a motion and for someone to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing and move to approve ordinance number 3713.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rotana.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Merritt. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, regular agenda items. K1, consider approving resolution number 2021-178, appointing TIF number 4, Board of Directors, and take appropriate action. Do you want me to make the presentation, or I can?
There's no presentation, it's just approving. We're the only people in the TIF, so
Yeah,
it's us.
exciting. Does
You can
anyone
ask
not want anyone recommended on this board? Okay, then I will look for a motion. We have no one signed up to speak, so. Huh? I'll do it. I will do it. All right. I make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-178, appointing TIF number 4 Board of Directors as presented.
Second?
The second by Councilmember Driscoll. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is K2. Chairman David Moore will present Planning and Zoning Commission's work program for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. It's fun to take arrows from the other side sometimes, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council. David Moore, excuse me, Planning and Zoning Chair. This is our annual work program update for fiscal year 21-22. It's actually been about 20 months since we did this last, so it's been a while. Tonight's agenda, I will remind everyone of the purpose of the commission, tell everyone who the current commissioners are, review the commission's accomplishments, review our fiscal year 2021-2022 P&Z work program, have an opportunity to bring other items, and to get further direction from council. Just as a reminder, the Planning and Zoning Commission serves as an advisory board to the City Council concerning matters primarily related to the development and use of private property and the planning of public improvements. We serve at the pleasure and direction of the council, and I like to remind our team of that all the time. I'm not sure what that is. The commission comprises of 7 regular members and 2 alternate members appointed by the council. I am currently the chair. Giovanni Zavala is the vice chair. And if we can get rid of the Zoom. There we go. This is the current commission. As it stands today, we have our 9 members. 7 are voting members and 2 are alternates. I think it's really important just to thank you all and to remind you that you changed the structure of this commission from 9 and 0 alternates to 7 and 2. I want to say between 2 and 3 years ago, although I've lost a year. The change was very positive for planning and zoning because it's helped us with several things. It's helped us with quorum. Our quorum went down from 5 to 4, and our alternates are able to step in if a regular member was absent. Our bench strength was significantly increased as the alternates learned through participating in meetings on cases. They sit and vote on all the cases as we or have input on all the cases. And then succession planning has been greatly improved to address our normal attrition as the alternates are easy to move onto the commission. An interesting fact, 6 of the 9 people in this picture were alternates. The only 3 who were not are myself, Giovanni, and Linda Bertle, and that's because we joined before you guys implemented the plan. Additionally, I can think of 3 others, alternates, that were on the commission and rolled off prematurely because they moved or had life changes or whatever. So we've probably had about 10 alternates in all over the 2 to 2.5 year period. So I'm sure it's made your job easier as far as the backfill goes, but it's really helped us out a lot. This is a matrix that we've been showing to you the last few times. This shows the planning applications reviewed and acted upon since our last update. Our last update literally was in 2019. You can see that year there were 57 grand total cases. As you'll recall, that was in the midst of the West Side development. So all of the single family, all the multifamily, all that activity was happening then. And then 2020 happened, and in March, everything shut down. And so all the things that were in the hopper worked their way through our Zoom meetings. And then you can see really the impact of COVID as it relates to 2021. A significant drop in cases. Obviously, when things are closed down, all the development slowed down. And so that's what's happened. And you can see just the numbers there, the percentages. There are 7 cases that are pending under review, and the number 18 does not include those cases because they haven't been approved yet. So if you add those, it would be 25, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that the caseload is down. And just as a reminder, development activity is cyclical. And so, there's stronger growth periods and then there's slower years. We've certainly been through a slower time when everything closed down. And I believe, things are getting back on track. And so those numbers probably the next time myself or whoever is the chair is up here, those numbers will be going back up. This is just a short list of special projects completed during 2020 and 2021. We created the Entertainment Overlay District, and that was in October of 2020. The CZO Parking Section Comprehensive Overhaul also happened in October of 2020. Online application submittal and review process for InterGov was in 2020. The big deal on here is the IH-35E Corridor Vision Study. That started, I want to say, in 2019. At that time, Council appointed the Planning and Zoning Commission as the steering committee for that project, which I don't believe that's ever happened in this city before. And we took the project, worked with staff, the consultants, and they put together a very robust plan that did include citizen and business input. And then we had something called the pandemic, which greatly tied everyone's hands. So they ended up doing online surveys, telephone, and the best they could with that. Nevertheless, that pushed through and was approved in February of 2021. And as you guys know, the city received the APA Economic Development Planning Gold Award for that. We also accomplished a CZO amendment for banquet hall and event centers in March. Expansion of off-premise beer and wine sales and on-premise alcohol consumption overlay districts to the Peninsula Tract happened in September, and then the multifamily development policy you all just approved this evening. So during this time that it looks like there's lower caseloads, staff was able to take advantage of that opportunity and put some heavy, I would say heavy lifting type of long-term strategic items in our laps, and allowed us to work through those and get them to you. The Planning and Zoning Commission work program aligns with council's strategic initiatives and critical business outcomes. We highlighted 3. CBO1, ensure strategic planning alignment to current status of city and mission vision. CBO2, improve access to responsible and diverse housing. CBO8, implement the recommendations from the IH-35 corridor study. We also touch on some others. For example, CBO5, support the evolution of the arts and culture in Farmers Branch. As projects come to us, there typically is an art element there. So while we're not directing how that art should look, because that's the Arts and Culture Commission, we are approving the land use and encouraging our developers to do that. Our work program for fiscal year 21-22 is to adopt the citywide comprehensive plan. That kickoff will happen in spring 2022, and that's a 2-year cycle. Number 2, we'll implement the recommendations from the IH-35E corridor vision study. This is obviously quite detailed. You guys kind of started tonight with the TERS or whatever we call it, TIF. So the district was established tonight, and it's a 25-year term, so the financing is there now. Now the heavy lifting begins with the rezoning. So rezoning target area 1 and update and expand the station area code. That will kick off in spring 2022 and will take, let's say, 6 to 8 months. And then we'll just follow and tee up target area 2, 3, and 4 following the plan. As a reminder, this is a map from the corridor vision study, and it shows you where the different target areas are. So target area 1 is directly to the west, adjacent to the current station area, and the idea there was to carry over many of those land-based form-based codes over across the freeway. And then you can see target area 2 is the section just north of the station area between Denton Drive and I-35. Oh, let's say that's up to Havenhurst. I'm not sure what that street is. And then target area 3 is east of there along Denton Drive. Target area 4 is the remainder of the I-35 corridor on the east side. Number 3 is to adopt a multifamily development policy. We believe that will be ready, well, you guys did it today. Adopt revised standards within the CZO pertaining to accessory dwelling units. That's not going away. We hope to have that ready by summer this year, 2022. And then number 5, update and streamline the development review process. This is a continuous plan, and we believe that there'll be a possible update to the overall review processes by fall of 2022. With that, I'm going to go off book here. I would like to say that I believe that the model where council appointed the Planning and Zoning Commission to be this steering committee for an important project like I-35 was very successful. And so I would just encourage you to consider that as other large items come up, for example, road diets or whatever else. And just as a reminder how that worked is I joined this commission, I think 5 years ago. And I remember Bronson Blackson brought up the I-35 uses and was passionate about it. And that sort of kicked off that process 5 years ago. That led to the council agreeing to hire consultants to come in and do a study. And then that led to the plan, and that led to the adoption of the plan. And here we are 5 years later financing it with the TIF. So I think that's a great model for any large projects that you're scratching your head on. Again, the part of that I feel like even though we won an award, if there wasn't a pandemic, we could have done a better job of citizen input. But because of the pandemic, they really did the best they could with phone calls and emails. But without that, it would even be better. So now I'll go back on script. Is there anything that the commission needs us to focus on as your board? And is there any particular direction as to how you would like the commission to proceed on a particular project or program?
Well, before we get into that, first, I just want to say thank you for your leadership and your time on the P&Z. We've kind of been along this ride almost together.
We have.
It seems. But you're absolutely right in terms of when this started, how long it took, and you adequately described government work, it seems like. But it reminds me of a quote that I've always loved, which is, people overestimate the amount of change that's going to happen in 2 years and greatly underestimate the amount of change that's going to happen in 10. And how you quickly summarized what we started with, an idea that we thought was going to go quicker. All that's been added to it over just half that time of a 10-year period is pretty remarkable. And I think we have an exciting future ahead of us in terms of what that corridor is going to be and what it's going to mean to our city. And, as it comes to reaching out to the community, I know we can always do a better job, but just want to commend you on the efforts that you all took to solicit those ideas, those inputs from not only residences, but from businesses and stakeholders in the area. And I think it was beneficial. A touch point that I will let you know that the people that are within that area, being a sitting member of the DART board, when we solicited comments for the Silver Line and just kind of input overall as we look at the DART Zoom kind of bus redesign and the overall network, the Farmers Branch community was one of the highest communities in terms of response. So, engagement's there. We can always do better, but I just want you to know that this area typically does respond pretty well. So hopefully that feedback is enough. And as we start to make these changes, people won't be back here complaining about some of the stuff that we're doing. But with that, I will just say I'm going to hold you to the 6 to 8 months for the kickoff on Target Area 1. So we'll be looking for that to come back a little bit quicker. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Chairman Moore? Councilmember Driscoll?
I don't have any questions. I'd just like to say, echoing Robert's comments, job well done, David. And I was thinking back when you were describing the process in Bronson 5 years ago. I mean, I think the whole 4 years I was on P&Z, I was on with you. And I can remember a lot of those meetings and field trips and discussions. And sometimes we'd go out of there going, well, will we ever see that built, whatever the project was. And I just want to commend you on your leadership of the P&Z Commission. You've done a good job from the very beginning. And I enjoyed my time there, learned a hell of a lot. And you continue to lead the group very well. And like you just said, there's so many people that were alternates a year ago, and then now they're in there, yeah. And just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
David, you and I have had an opportunity to talk privately and previously, so again, I thank you very much. We come from a very small club of chairman of the Planning and Zoning. There's only 4 or 5 of us around, but yes, I know the amount of effort that goes into the role that you're playing, and I really appreciate your pointedness of actually, as you called it, going off script, suggesting to us to utilize and revisit that process of putting a program in the hands of a steering committee such as Planning and Zoning. I appreciate that directedness. It is worth pointing out that it proved very beneficial. So again, thank you very much for that. I know one of the things that I always enjoyed when I was on Planning and Zoning was the shared meetings, and I know we did that this summer when we went over the multifamily policy. So I would like to hear how that interaction works. Is there an opportunity for us to revisit that on another subject going forward and just lay it out like that to you? So
I think the staff has those set up annually. I don't know if that's April or July. Again, the pandemic messed with those, and typically, I believe, I'll speak for staff, the way they pick the subject is the hot topic, in the last 60 days. So, that happened to be multifamily on this particular one. I'm sure that there'll be one when the next one is set up. I would also like to take this chance just to compliment our staff. They do a great job and make our jobs very easy. And so I know there's been turnover there, but I just want to thank Sarupa and Brian and the new guy whose name I can't remember, Chris, yes, and Allison for the transition during this time. It's really gone well, I believe.
Don't forget Kira overseas.
And Kira, yes, Kira from
She's probably asleep, but yeah.
millions of miles away.
So, okay.
Just really quickly, in answering one of your questions, first of all, echo what my colleagues have said. Thank you so much for all of your work. I know things have been a little different with the pandemic. And on that same note, as a commission, there has been limitations in regards to how, exposed we can be as far as just trying to find and look at innovative ideas elsewhere. And so one of the things that in looking at what the commission can do, I think opening the back up again with staff to look at, especially for new innovative ideas along our I-35 corridor, making sure that you all continue to educate yourselves so that way you can educate us, because I know I really rely on and looking at P&Z recommendations in every item, because we do need those liaisons from our boards and commissions. And I think it benefits both of us, since I know some of us also tag along to those opportunities, just again to kind of think outside the box. So thank you again for your leadership, and look forward to hearing more great things to come.
Staff is working, I know Sarup is coming to tell you this, on a bus trip in the spring, and she can give you more details of that.
Just a little bit of, I know some of the council members had joined us before. Due to the pandemic and also the transition and everything happening, we couldn't do it the past 2 years. But this spring, we are planning on the bus tour. And I really commend David and Linda and Amber Rayleigh on our commission who joined us at the APA conference. Those are very great, exciting opportunities to learn about similar projects that other cities are doing. So that's how we will design the bus tour, to look at the projects that other area DFW cities are doing. And we'll invite you all once we nail down a date and time. And we'd love for some of you to join us, or if not all of you.
And then maybe stop by International Plaza between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m.
To look at the sign.
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Next is K4, consider approving resolution number 2021-180, Compan Inc. contract to provide design and installation of playground equipment for the improvements to Hoya Playground at Orengood Park and take appropriate action. Old Monster Mash, what's up, man?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Mashburn, Director of Parks and Recreation. Okay, we've seen this a few times, but those that stuck around are in for a real treat tonight. I'm here to present the Compan contract for the Signature Park we've been designing for the last couple of years over at Orengood, corner of Tom Field and Valley View. After much discussion, starting in 2019, Mayor, you and I sat down with John Land, and we kind of thought big and out of the box, and what could we do in Farmers Branch that's unique and different and satisfies the council objectives to continue to push that forward. The idea came up with a signature playground, and one that's unique, unlike anywhere you'll find in the U.S. One that's great in the daytime and at night. And so we talked to many different manufacturers. Compan, who does work all over the world for the last 40 plus years, said, I think we can do what your vision is. And so it's a night playground. Also used in the day. It's going to appeal to all age groups, as we talked about in study session, need for teen, tween programming, and even little tykes. So move forward with the design on that. The contract total you see before you today is just a shade under $3.5 million. The total budget for the program, or the project, is $4 million. Our project timeline, it's a 50-week build after the contract is signed, another 20 weeks to deliver and install. So we're looking at a good 1.5-year project once our contract is signed, but due to the nature of this project, how unique it is, it's going to take quite some time to get done. So just an overview of what we're looking at here. What you see before you is the playground, with the exception of the food truck lots. That's an amenity that could be added down the road should we get grant funding. We are applying for a grant as we speak. We should find out in March. If awarded, that's a $750,000 matching grant, which would allow us to either offset some of these costs or add some of the other elements that you see. But for the intents and purposes of this contract, it's essentially everything you see outside of the Hoya sign at the entrance and the food trucks in that lot. The centerpiece is a super sphere. It's about 32 feet in diameter, tall, 72 feet in diameter roughly. It's on an elevated surface. It's got multiple slides, multiple levels for play. It glows in the day and night. People see Night Park and they think, is this going to keep everybody awake? No, it has a dimmer switch, which is great, kind of like in your house. So you can dim it up, you can dim it down, you can change the lights for seasons of the year, what have you. It's also LED, dark sky certified, I believe, as well. Lights point down, and they're meant to be contained, not intrusive. So just some renderings we can go over here. All of this is adaptive play, so we took into the needs of folks that can't maybe get on swings in a regular fashion. They can use these. We have zip lines, we have the super sphere, we have a seating area for adults and kids alike. These slides are meant for people to play together, which is why you see such a wide berth there. So very unique, very different, unlike anything that's in the U.S. currently. I think that's a marketing piece for the city, and certainly we'll bring folks in to see it from all around. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Michael, thanks for your leadership on this. I know It's been a kind of a long time coming. I remember talking about this, what was it, 2 years ago at a strategy session? So it's worked its way through the cycle, kind of on similar timelines, you know what I mean? I don't have any questions on my end. I like that from the outset, it sounds like it's a little bit cheaper than we had budgeted for, which is good. Excited about the potential of the grant, which could help us go a lot further and really make this even better than what we believe it will be. So does anyone on the council have any comments or questions at this time? Councilmember Ratana.
First, really excited about this. Really excited to bring something new and innovative into our city, and especially loving the name. One thing that I did want to bring up, when I worked for the city of Dallas, we had a project at Flagpole Hill with Compan, actually, and also an all-inclusive park, and we received funding from the Jordan Spieth Foundation because he gives funding for all-inclusive type parks. And I was just wondering if that's an opportunity that we've explored yet. If not, I would love for us to talk about how we can explore that, because I think it's anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000, which is pretty substantial. And I think anything helps at this point to try to be conservative with our cost. So just curious if that's something that y'all have looked at.
We didn't look into the Jordan Spieth grant particularly. The one that we're looking into right now is the matching grant with Texas Parks and Wildlife. We work with a grant writing research firm that has sought after grants. They haven't found anything else that's matched yet, but we can revisit that and see if there's a few more that we can apply for.
No, definitely. And I'd love to talk to you offline about that.
Sure.
And just remind him that he grew up playing golf at Brookhaven.
Exactly. Yes, that's a good one.
There you go.
Next, Councilman Driscoll.
And he graduated UT Austin also, a Longhorn.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah. I knew you wouldn't, Robert. I'll explain it later. We've had a few conversations about this park, Mike, and I'm really, really excited about it also. I think it will be something that will really draw people in, from outside Farmers Branch as well. It's going to be something really dynamic and cool. And I'm just excited about the project and continue the good work on it. And I hope there's going to be play areas for adults as well.
We were going to do a special council play session before it opens to the public.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Not too
But
late.
thanks a lot.
Sure.
Not too late, though.
Yeah, right.
Councilmember Lynn, do you have anything? Oh, it's her district. I'll let her go last.
Thank you, Mayor. So I do have some thoughts as I've spent the last number of weeks in bed thinking about this. And I also had a conversation with Mike earlier today. Let me first say, just so everybody hears me, I'm not anti-park, okay? Just want to make that known. I have no doubt that this will be a spectacular attraction for the city, but I felt compelled to try to point out some things as to whether we really need this versus something else. So if you'll indulge me, I'm just going to walk through what my thoughts are on this. And I tried to take a dive at this signature park versus the barn at the historical park. The barn at the historical park, we've already spent $375,000 for plans for the barn that had been sitting on a shelf someplace, and that was just put off to the side because folks said we just weren't ready to do it. And granted, there was a lot of discussion whether it was a barn, museum, or whatnot. I'm only talking about the barn. Earlier tonight, I-25, we approved spending $156,000 for engineering of Signature Park. But again, we've already spent $375,000 on the barn. This Signature Park estimated cost between $3.5–4 million. The barn was estimated cost about $3 million. The barn provided for revenue opportunities by hosting meetings, corporate events, weddings, other parties, and could be used year-round, rain or shine, hot or cold. I'm not sure that the number of revenue or the amount of revenue opportunities for the Signature Park would be the same or even measure up. But obviously, if you look back at what the prior council had in mind which was cost recovery on things. That was something to be concerned with. The barn at the historical part certainly enhances the events at the park, bluegrass for one, which is a major attraction. That model would provide for self-sustainability because maintenance and some operational costs would be offset by user fees. There's no user fees at this signature park. So the cost of maintenance, wear and tear and everything fall squarely on the taxpayers. The barn would definitely have appeal to residents and others who might want to have their event in Farmers Branch at a quite unique facility. It could be used to enhance tourism. It could be partnered with area hotels to offer a combined booking and use of facilities. I haven't heard anything from the park board or the historical park board on acceptance of this signature park versus the barn. I mean, we heard from the historical park chairman this evening, and I certainly respect his position, but I'd like to hear more from others. I don't know that we've done any environmental or light pollution study. I know you said that the lights would have a dimmer on them, but I'm sure there's going to be some bleed over into the areas and how that would impact the surrounding neighborhood. And so I even though this has been discussed, we're really seeing detail now, and I really feel like this is being sort of fast-tracked without a whole lot of public input. I don't know how the name was selected or who selected it, or if there'll be a naming opportunity for the residents to name this signature park. And I really question who's going to attend this signature park and use it over time. I know as we have events at Oren Good, tournaments or whether they're baseball, softball, or some soccer tournaments or whatnot, that yes, this could be a very nice amenity to help provide something else to do for folks who are attending those events. But I also know the space, the barn space at the historical park would, in addition to being able to be monetized, also be able to provide some type of photo history or artifact history on the walls as decorations, so to speak, for those who are using the facilities. So, you know, I sit here and I know my fellow council members are probably saying, "Shut up, Terry." That wouldn't be the first time, but I just felt compelled that this needed to be said, because as it was said earlier, we've already invested a lot of money in plans that are sitting on the shelf. And when did this sort of take the place of completing the historical park? I don't know. All I know is an idea came up and it sort of gained fast acceptance. So, you know, I just want to make sure that we're investing our dollars. One could argue this is free money to the city. Well, free money to the city could have been used to complete the barn too. But that we're using our dollars wisely and to make a name for our city in the proper way to serve not only our residents, but the guests of our city. And again, I did have a conversation with Mike about this earlier, so I don't think I've said anything that's of any surprise to you, but I just felt I needed to go on the record with those comments. So thank you.
I just want to address a few of those comments because of the council sitting up here. We were on council, you and I, when the barn project started. First, I just want to confirm that I'm hearing you say you were in support of the barn.
I was not in support of the barn to begin with because of the business plan that was presented. And, you know, we change our minds. You know, I'd like to say that I'm open-minded enough that that I can sit here and listen to an argument, as I did on the solar, when we put solar on buildings, and change minds. The last thing I ever thought I would do would be to agree with the one person who brought the barn up at the very beginning.
I was going to say she's probably passed out from hearing the comments.
Yes, she probably has. But I have had time, you know, to think and reflect upon it, and so that's why I'm just saying.
Well, no, I just want to make sure we're on the same page because
Okay.
I've also been for the barn from day one. And some of the reasons that we did what we did is we shelved it, A, because of a compelling argument against the business case that, in my opinion, has not changed in terms of how we would run, operate, and move forward with the barn in terms of what it could be. We've always thought that it could be a center that would generate revenue, would be a huge boost to the historical park, would be a huge boost not only to the boom in weddings, but allow people who, when they are seeking weddings, would consider Farmers Branch more because they would have an area to have a reception and one that is probably to a much better scale than just sticking a tent in a field. And, you know, we shelved it because of that. We shelved it because we didn't want to spend the funds at that time. And the funding mechanism that we all agreed we were going to use was hot funds. Well, when COVID came, no more hot funds, essentially, or no excess hot funds that we would be allowed to reallocate towards the barn project. You know, when it comes to Hoya, you know, that plan was first shown to us in the strategic planning session in 2020.
2019.
2019. Mm-hmm. Getting too old.
I guess we discussed it and then.
You discussed it.
Yeah,
You didn't bring like the plans.
Yeah,
or
the actual
anything.
plans, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. No, like I guess the first time we saw the actual drawings was that.
Oh, was that when I had COVID? Was that? Yeah.
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 Yeah, John pinched hit
Yeah.
during the, yeah.
It
Maybe
was-
why you didn't hear
it
the
was
compelling
underwhelming.
business case for it.
Yeah, it was underwhelming that day, but you know, it still got its point across. No, but you know, from that came the direction to potentially move forward with that and what would it look like. And then I know that earlier this year, was this year, right? We actually had a meeting with stakeholders, kids, adults, Parks Board members, business members, people in the community, and our Parks and Rec department went out to find people to be a part of this, to talk about what they liked, didn't like, and Compan took that information back and said, okay, these are the changes that we need to make based on the feedback that came. So yes, it was solicited, but it also comes with their experience in terms of building these parks. Couple that with, that was then presented through our entire budget session, which everyone was on board with, and a budget that for the first time in a long time was unanimously approved. And so these are those same funds that we all agreed to that we're still allocating towards this same project that we were all in agreement with. And because they're ARP funds, they have to be used for certain things. And this park fits in those categories. The barn, the way that it's going to be structured, the way that it's going to be built, does not fit into that category. And I know firsthand that the barn may come back sooner rather than later. We have a talented team that is working on an opportunity that would get us more than halfway there and would be a huge boost to that. But I still think that without having that discussion, I think council still looked at that as, because it's tourism, funding that out of our hot fund. And as the economy comes back, as people are traveling, as hotel rooms are picking up, we're going to see that pickup in those hot funds that are available to potentially fund this. And so I think there is still an opportunity to do both. And in terms of tourism, that's what a signature park does. people, it's not Clyde Warren, but it's different. Like, it's its own tourist attraction, it's its own destination, and people come from all over to go down there and eat, walk around, play, have picnics, listen to concerts, listen to other things. But when you talk about, what's going on with sporting events at Orrin Good, or some of the other, soccer tournaments, softball tournaments, Special Olympics, things that we have, this is another amenity that these people are going to be able to use while their kids are playing night games or other things to entertain them. And I think it is going to be beneficial not only to our community as a whole to have a place that is this, I don't want to, I guess, revolutionary. I mean, we don't have a lot of night parks outside of just lights shining on a park. Like, this is going to be lit up in a new way, and it reminds me of, oh, now I can't even think of the name of it. It's the park at Kelly and Keller Springs. Huh? Yeah, maybe it's that all wood playground. Yeah, when we were a kid, like, that was the coolest park around. And I didn't live in Carrollton, but my parents drove me over there to go play at that park. And I think that's what this is going to be. And I think that's not only what a lot of us believe, whether it's our rec staff or it's our parks board. Like, a lot of people are excited about this. And I just wanted to go through the chronological history of, we've been talking about this for a long time, much like we talked about the corridor study for a long time. It takes a long time to get through here, but I thought we were all in agreement on this. And I don't want to say that we are choosing one over the other. I think people are working diligently to find a way to achieve both. And that's kind of where I'm at on it. I'm just excited to hear that should we find a mechanism to get the barn back, you're on board, and sounds like an opportunity to truly move that forward.
Well, I don't think any of us should ever be, I won't say scolded, but, or reprimanded for sharing our thoughts on the situation. That's what I was trying to do.
I wasn't reprimanding you. I was just explaining the history of everything and how we got to where we got to.
I understand. But these were observations that I thought of in the time since. I feel compelled. I was elected to share my thoughts with the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. I have that ability right now for a few more months. And so that's why I wanted to at least put this information out. I'm hopeful that, maybe one of these days we'll have both. I'm still not on board with a museum, but we're not here to talk about a museum today. And so, I didn't have these thoughts back during the budget retreat. And maybe I should have called you and had this discussion privately with you, just so you know where I was coming from. But I'm not one to hold back information, so I just wanted to put that out there for what it's worth.
Thank you. Councilmember Merritt.
It's Merritt, that's correct.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you very much for all the work that you've done and all the Parks and Recreation Board. As I was on that and worked through this at the beginning. So very excited to see this come forward. I'm excited about hearing the grant possibilities to bring other components along to allow the programming and the capacity for programming around this to be as high a potential as we want. The staff that you direct, are great at special events. And so I know that's not going to be a problem. And I just want us to make sure that we have those type of, auxiliary, ancillary events around this as we get it off the ground and for a period of time to make that establishment. So that's really important. So seeing those food truck pads, super important. We need to figure a way to make that happen, because if we can get those amenities there, even if mom brings in the kids, they can go to, the Branch restaurant parks. They could go the other direction and eat at the other elements that we have just on Valley View there. So the opportunities to bring people in, to bring dollars in, and as I was talking with one of my peers earlier today, they could eat at the new salad place that'll be there at the corner as well. So, I mean, there are opportunities to bring folks in and make this the signature park that we really want. And so I'm very supportive, been supportive all along, but I really want to make sure that we do all the other things besides just getting the physical structure down there. And I think you knew that to begin with. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Councilmember Williams.
Thanks, Michael. You know how excited I am about this park. This is going into my district, and I will tell you, my constituents could not be more supportive or more thrilled about it happening. That park is needed an updating. It's right there at a very crucial intersection in our city. I'm glad to hear the mayor just reiterate that we are not making a choice tonight between the barn and the signature park. That's not what we're up here about, because hopefully we can have both. Just tonight we're voting on this equipment. I think that signature park, number one, I love that it's useful at night, because as all of us parents know, during the summertime, hot park equipment is no fun. And so having something that's lit up like that we can use in the hours of 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night when it actually gets completely dark is fantastic. I think that's a great time that families will use it, as well as our my little pet group right now, my tweens and my teens. So I think they'll be super excited about that, and that brings in that multi-generational, that multi-age level that we say that we want, as well as that increases traffic to our existing parks that are over in that area. How easy is that to walk from the historical park through the, what's that called, the aviary reserve?
The Rose Garden, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, that cuts through, that goes up to the Rose Garden, that then goes through Gussie Park, then you can cross. I mean, that's fantastic. And to be able to end at that signature park is going to be a really, really neat thing. And so I'm excited about that. And I will tell you, if we don't do something to generate some more traffic in that area, we're going to lose our Mustang restaurant park. And so, there's only so much that we can do off of 35. And so if we don't start pulling people into the city, not everything has to be monetized. This is a city amenity. I know I've said it over and over and over again. I've said it during study session tonight. Not every city amenity needs to be looked at as a revenue source or a cash cow. And the thing is something like the Signature Park, the way that that's investing into our community, you can't quantify how that pays us back. So, and I would go so far to say that pays us back more. That's a better return on our investment in quality of life for our residents, as well as driving business to a really needed area. So, I can't wait.
Sure, and I will reiterate for the financial minds on our council here, there was a study done in 2014 with Clyde Warren Park. 2 years after operation, they estimated $2.5 billion in economic impact. I'm not saying we're Clyde Warren, but if we do 1% of that, that's pretty good, right? So, anyway.
And Cheryl, they spent $150 million?
So we got a deal.
Yeah, we're not decking this one. Okay, Councilmember Otana.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make a few more observations. One of the unique things about this park is that it is an all-access playground, and that's filling a gap. It's filling a void of a lot of our residents. And so I think that is probably one of the most important reasons why I'm very supportive of this. The other thing, too, we talked about earlier about the need for teens to have something to do right after school. That's our Vivian Field population. In the project that I work with at Flagpole Hill, it was so unique in the different unique aspects of that compound used that more middle school age kids were using it as opposed to just elementary. And so I think that's another feature that this park brings, because they're able to walk from field to come to this park because it is so new and unique and just really interesting. And it has features that middle schoolers will be able to use. And then one of the things too related to some of the points that the mayor made is, you know, as far as hot funds, now that I walked living on the west side, I run down that, you know, Luna, and I see those 4 hotels full all the time now. And so I think we're going to be seeing that revenue. And right when I got on council, I was a huge proponent of the barn. I wish it was already built, because I wanted to get married where I grew up, in that barn. And so I think it's just, we have to be patient, but with the ARPS funds and studying what we can do with it, the barn wouldn't qualify, like the mayor said. And so, but we need to take advantage of the opportunity we have now for a park that we've been talking about for the last 3 years. So again, really reiterating that all access piece, because I think that in and of itself is so important. And again, giving our middle schoolers an opportunity to do something after school, because we don't really have a lot for them to do right now. So just wanted to make a couple more of those observations as we continue to have the conversation. Thank you, Mayor.
Do we have any other comments, questions, or discussion surrounding this item? All right, seeing none, this item is marked for action. We don't have anyone signed up to speak.
Mayor, I move to...
I am going to say no, but thank you for asking. Good.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2021-180, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Compton Inc. in the amount of $3,497,668 for the design and installation of the lighted playground equipment and benches for improvements at Orrin Good Park, Hoya Playground.
I have a motion by Councilmember Williams.
Second.
A second by Councilmember Driscoll. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is to take any action necessary as a result of the closed executive session. We have one motion to make. Councilmember Lynn.
Mayor, I move to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute an amendment to the economic development agreement by and between the City of Farmers Branch and Mickey Franks LLP to provide, 1, an additional grant of $45,000 for the construction and installation of an outside smoker to be paid upon the effective date of the amendment, and 2, amend the date of the payment of the original grant in the amount of $75,000 for tenant finish out from the date a certificate of occupancy is issued for company to occupy the leased premise to the effective date of the amendment.
I have a motion by Councilmember Lynn. Second by Councilmember Rotana. Just for clarification, we didn't have anyone signed up to speak to this item either, but is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. With no other business to conduct, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:55 p.m.